Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Talladega Superspeedway here back for the SimPossible Racing League B-Car Series. I'm Cameron Ridge with Peter Short back from the UK and Carlos Acosta manning those cameras as always. Of course, this track, built on an old hallowed Indian burial ground, we should see some crazy action tonight. Of course, Talladega, one of those superspeedway tracks where you can't get out of the draft and you're going to be in a pack all night long. We're here in qualifying right now. As you can see, it's open qualifying, so these guys are drafting around the track, trying to get that fast lap time. Of course, qualifying not super important here at a track like this, because really you can make or break positions so quickly per lap, so it's not that important. But either way, Tanner Sharp is at the top of the board right now with a 50.430. And Christopher Burge in second place. Of course, the winner from Daytona, the last super speedway race we were at in this series, so definitely going to be one to look out for tonight. But Peter, I have a question to ask you. This type of racing is so much different than we see at every other track. Really, what is the key to kind of succeed here in the, really just kind of stay out of trouble? I guess that is the key, but how do you run these races, and how are they different than other tracks?
Well, Cameron, kind of just like you said, you can gain or lose spots so quickly here at Talladega. It's all about patience, because if you can just get your car to the end, you can make up those spots, in the last 10 to 15 laps. First, you have to get your car to that 10 to 15 laps. The big one is a thing that we talk about every time we come here to Talladega or Daytona. And earlier this season, when these B-Car Series drivers were at Daytona, we saw a lot of bump drafting go wrong. These B-Cars don't have a flat front end, so it can make for some, difficult bump drafting. And that led to a lot of trouble there. So I think that's, something to keep an eye on here tonight. You don't want to be involved in that big one. You just want to make your car get your car to the end, and then with about 10-15 laps to go, start to make your move.
And this is quite a long race, 75 laps here, and we're going to be running sub 50-second lap times under green, but of course we probably will see some caution tonight. Like you said, with the bump drafting with these B cars, they really are very unstable in the corners if you get tucked up behind someone else. But we're going to go ahead and get your grid here situated real quickly. 15 cars in the field tonight, so a pretty good field for a super speedway race, so it should be pretty good. Tanner Sharp on the pole. He's a pretty good super speedway racer himself, so we'll see if he can do it. And Christopher Burge, as we said, the winner from Daytona, starts in second, Peter.
And on the row number 2, we have Billy Wise in the number 32 machine, and alongside him is the number 14 of AJ Digby.
Fernando Matos in the number 17 Haviland car, a very good car to have at a place like this, starts in 5th, and to his outside, Alan Capers in the 13.
On row number 4, we have the number 1 of Thomas Wise, and alongside him, the 56 of Tom Johnson.
Johnny Berardi and Tim Masters are going to round out your top 10 starting positions. Tim Masters, of course, starting on the outside.
Kyle Zimmer will roll off from the 11th position, and alongside him is Nate Catilla. And I just want to highlight Nate Catilla for a minute. And you can see him, he's the second car on the left side, just in front of Doug McCollum in the 33. Nate Catilla's got a special paint scheme this week. He's honoring one of his good friends who passed away. So keep an eye on that number 4 of Nate Catilla here tonight, because I know he's going to give that thing quite a ride. There you see a little bit better picture of it. And I'm sure we'll see that number 4 up at the front at some point here tonight.
Yeah, very cool paint scheme for that number 4. And rolling off right behind him is going to be that number 66 of Brian Lowhead, who surprisingly actually took a time. He usually doesn't do that, but your last 2 starting positions, or last 2 in the field, are going to be Doug McCollum and Travis Zudema, rounding out your 15-car field for tonight's event. So it's going to be a really cool race to watch, and definitely going to have to watch and see if that instability with the bump drafting and pushing comes into play. I know some drivers were in pre-race talking to other drivers, just telling them to lay off of it a little bit and try to keep those accidents from happening, because you just don't want to wad up the field, early on in the race a little bit. So definitely going to be something to watch out for. But like we said, pretty long race, 75 laps. I believe that should be a 2-stopper at the minimum. We might see some more, depending on how the cautions go. But it's going to be, if we do get green flag stops, it's going to be imperative to get on pit road and off pit road without any penalties, without any incidents, and that really can make or break a race here at Talladega.
Yeah, and one thing that I always do when I come to a super speedway, of course, myself being a sim racer, is you have to practice getting on pit road under green flag conditions, even if there is a very small chance you will. When you do get that green flag pit stop here at Talladega, like you said, it's make or break getting onto pit road. If you speed on pit road or whatever, get a black flag of some sort, that can just completely ruin your race. It can spell an end to your chances of winning. So I'm sure a couple drivers practiced that in the practice session we had just earlier, but we're getting set to go green here, and I'm sure Tanner Sharp's going to try and get away to an early lead in that number 3 machine up at the front.
Yeah, the safest place out at Super Speedway is always out front. I can't really say that for certain because I was in a race a couple weeks ago where I was out front, then I wasn't because I was spinning into the wall. But really, that is where you want to be. That is the safest place as long as somebody else doesn't have your ill will in mind. But either way, that pace car is off, so we have a couple hundred yards to go before we get going green here. That green machine right there on the left side of your screen, that's Tanner Sharp. He is the leader, so he's going to be the control car on this restart, waiting for that flagman to throw the green flag out, and indeed he does. So we're underway here at Talladega Super Speedway for 75 laps, and it all starts right here. So good start for both Tanner Sharp and Christopher Burge. Looks like they both have good help from behind them. Of course, Tanner behind him has Billy Wise and AJ Digby behind Christopher Burge. That top side looks like they're a little bit more hooked up right now, so we'll see if they can make an early charge to the lead. I do see that, yes, that outside line is getting the good push. So Christopher Burge is going to be looking for that lead down the backstretch. That usually is the line to be on these straights, and they also have help from behind in that number 13 of Alan Capers, the cone killer himself. Of course, there's no cones right there, but there is 2 cars in front of him. And here comes AJ Digby looking on the bottom of Christopher Burge, but Burge throws a block on Digby, so quite early to be doing that. But that was a clean block, a textbook move here at Talladega, and looks like that they are lining up on the bottom 4 cars, leaving Alan Capers on that high side, Peter.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. The number 13 of Alan Capers left there high and dry. We'll see possibly a peek of him out back. No, he ducks now in line back behind Billy Wise, a couple cars behind AJ Digby, who you'll look at here. 1 lap in. First lap led is Roberge. So Roberge is going to get that point for that lap led. And Cameron, one thing about this Roberge is his teammate, Dave Wilson, is not here tonight. Dave Wilson coming into tonight's event, your points leader. He's not here, and he won't be here for a couple of races, trying to get a few things in order. Sometimes life comes before sim racing, and that happened to me when I was in college for many years. But now, Roberge is out there all by him lonesome, and at a track like Talladega, you want a couple of drafting partners. You see a couple of drivers up there on the high side trying to get formed up a few rows back. But we'll have to see what Christopher Burge can do without his wingman, Dave Wilson.
Yeah, it looks like we have about 7, 8 cars up here at the front lined up. There's a little bit of a mess in the back. For Fernando Matos, he's spun out on the front stretch on that apron, but no contact. That car looks like it's going to be fine, and he needs to get it spun around and get going again. But he's definitely going to lose the draft and lose a lot of track position. But it's good that he did not get that car any damage because, of course, we have faster players here, but you don't want to use them if you don't have to. It looks like he's getting going there a little bit, trying to get those tires hooked up on that pavement. It can be a little bit hard with how steeply banked this track is, about 33 degrees or some large number like that. Looking on the top side, Tim Masters, Doug McCollum, and Travis Zuma, they are lined up and they are making their move to the front. Tanner Sharp ducks out, says he wants to take that line away from them and get some of that help himself. So we'll see if he can make a move to the front. But Tim Masters says no, he's not going to help Tanner Sharp. He's going to go to the outside of him. And I believe that might have been a bit of an ill time. Ooh, we have some trouble in the back. I'm not sure who that is. I think that was a blue car.
And it's Thomas Wise?
Yeah.
Number 1.
Like he may have made contact with the wall himself. We almost have contact here at the front, but some 3 wide racing in the pack. Of course, there's plenty of room here to do 3 wide, but trying to get that outside line formed up a little bit. Looks like they haven't really done that just yet. But Doug McCollum and Travis Zudem look like they are the most formed up right now. They have a pretty good run into turn number 3 here, but not able to do anything with it just yet, Peter.
Yeah, and I'm watching that battle for the third positions. We have Tim Masters kind of in the middle in that Wrangler number 9 machine. He's got the number 3 of Tanner. Well, he had the number 3 of Tanner Sharp right behind him, but Tanner's going to drop right down to the bottom. And look at that run that number 3 machine's got. He's going to close up to the back bumper of AJ Digby. I have to keep an eye on this battle. They're all still 3 wide for the third position. That outside line has Zudema up there right behind Doug McCollum. Those two now pushing each other down the backstretch. They had a really good run that last lap on the entry into turn number 1, but you kind of said it a little bit earlier, Cameron, that high line is kind of where you want to be on the straightaway because you have all that momentum that you gain throughout the corner, and you usually get a good run down the straightaway. But in the corners, that low line is always going to be the better line unless there's a significant amount of more cars, I should say, and a higher line. But the number 3 of Tanner Sharp now trying to move to that middle groove to see if he can get help from Billy Wise. That a very high line has kind of petered out just a little bit. As that second group, looks like there's a little bit of a gap between the 66 of Flowhead and the 99 of Berardi. That second group trying to close in on the lead group just a little bit. And just to keep you guys updated, Fernando Matos and Thomas Weiss, they found each other on the racetrack, but Thomas Weiss has quite a bit of front end damage. So that number 1 machine, he is out back, but he's not able to keep up with Fernando Matos because of that left front damage on that number 1 machine. So both Matos and Thomas Weiss will be looking for a caution here early in the going at Talladega.
Yeah, and those two cars are running about 2 to 3 seconds slower than the cars in this pack here. We have a battle for the lead brewing up. Alan Capers has a great push from behind with Billy Wise and Tanner Sharp. Looks like those two cars who were on the extreme high side earlier, Doug McCollum and Travis Zudema, also on that middle high side. But Alan Capers definitely has the run. He has a good push from Tanner Sharp, so I believe he's going to... Ooh! Trouble! Alan Capers in the wall. Looks like that was not a good push. That was a bit of a offset one, but it definitely put Alan Capers in the wall. No caution just yet, but Alan Capers' car significantly damaged. He has a lot of right front damage because he did nose it into the wall quite a bit. But either way, here's the replay. See what happened. You see just the push. He got a very good push from behind Tanner Sharp, but it just knocked that car a little bit sideways. And that is one of the things that is so prevalent here at a track like this. You just really need to make sure that your car is square with the one in front of you as much as you can, because it will knock the car, especially with these B cars, like you said, Peter. They're not stable, even on the straightaways. They really just aren't. So it's so imperative to make sure that your pushing is square as can be. But very square push for those 2-3 cars up front, the double 3 and the single 3, Tanner Sharp and Doug McCollum. They are hooked up very well, trying to get the lead from those two on the bottom, Digby and Roberge. But it looks like Roberge and Digby have the upper hand right now coming to the corner. And they also have Travis Zudema with them at the time being. So really, you see Super Speedway Racing right here is just a game of numbers, really. It's about who has more cars in their line. And right now, that inside line just a little bit stronger than the outside.
Yeah, that inside line does have numbers at the moment, but Tanner Sharp getting help from Doug McCollum in that number 33. And we've seen Doug McCollum be really good on these super speedways, so we'll be all surprised to see that number 33 there in the top 5 once this is all said and done. Look at that run that outside line's getting right now, though. Here comes Tanner Sharp in that number 3 Mountain Dew machine, trying to challenge the number 88 of Chris Roberge. They're going to be side by side, headed down the back straight. And they're going to be side by side going off into turn number 3 and 4. Nothing to separate those two leaders as of right now, but all of a sudden that high line's now a little bit better formed up than the inside line. And Cameron, what is overheating like with these cars? I mean, overheating used to be a really big thing here in iRacing. It doesn't seem like it is as much anymore, but you can definitely still overheat these B cars.
Yeah, I was actually talking to some of the drivers in practice, and they were saying that it takes only about 1.5 laps before you really start getting the gauges blinking. Ooh, that very close push there between McCollum and Sharp. Like that might have almost been an issue, but they're going to have a very good run through turns 1 and 2, and I think they have a lot of momentum on the back straight. Yes, they do. They also have Kyle Zimmer and Billy Wise, the winner from the Daytona Split Series race. So he knows what he's doing on these super speedways as well. But like I was saying, yeah, about 1.5 to 2 laps before you really start having problems with that motor. So you're going to have to see drivers really duck out and do something about that as soon as possible, because really, once that thing starts blinking, you really don't have a lot of time to give it some air before it just it blows up.
Yeah, without a doubt. Fernando Matos and Thomas Wise have actually been able to hook up. Thomas Wise is able to draft behind Fernando Matos, so not quite sure if that's helping those two drivers, and it's definitely helping Thomas Wise in the draft of Matos. But meanwhile, up at the front, Doug McCollum now, he's going to try and charge for the race lead. He's got Tanner Sharp now got that number 3 machine back up to the front here in Talladega. For that outside, oh, contact! The 33, Doug McCollum and Billy Wise, a little bit of a bumper grab there down the straightaway, and got the number 33 all up out of shape. And he got down into the door panel of Tanner Sharp, and that was some absolute heads-up driving there by Tanner Sharp to make that move, to go down onto the apron to try and alleviate that contact as much as possible. But you can see some right side damage on Tanner Sharp's number 3 Mountain Dew machine. So he definitely, there was definitely contact between him and the 33, but luckily we're still green.
Yeah, there's some left side on the 33 as well, so I believe that those two cars are going to be a little bit off the pace until they can get that into the pits and fixed up. But definitely, that was a wreck that just did bring out a caution. That really could have been huge, and that could have been something that would have taken out the whole field potentially. But thank goodness it didn't, because that was very heads-up driving, like you said, for both of those drivers. And I'm watching that 33. It looks like he is a little bit off pace, just not able to hold the speed in that car. And of course, the right and left sides of these cars are so important at a track like this. When you're going flat out, you just need all the aerodynamics you can get. And one thing we do see in front of the leaders right now is those two cars that had trouble at the beginning, Fernando Matos and Thomas Wise. Of course, they are hooked up a little bit. Well, they are in a draft themselves, but they are off pace a little bit. See, Thomas Wise is on the high side, Fernando Matos on the low side. That might bring a problem for when these drivers try to lap them. I think they all are getting around them pretty well, and yes, they do. But they probably would have been better off just staying in line with both of those cars right there. But either way, it looks like everybody got around them just fine. So move both of those cars one lap down, and they're going to have to fight for the lucky dog now.
Yeah, and you and I know, Cameron, that a good friend of ours, Drew Eisman, his strategy when you're in that kind of situation is just stay on the low side and let the leaders pass you high, because if you go high, sometimes you can end up actually losing the lead draft anyway. So I think that's probably why Fernando Matos stayed on the inside line. We'll see if Matos can kind of merge in with the lead group and stay with them, even with some of the damage that he's accrued so far in this race. But meanwhile, we're pretty much single file for the first, 6 or 7 cars or so. The first side-by-side battle is really between Tanner Sharp, Fernando Matos, as just as I say that, AJ Digby says, I want to play around here. No! Trouble! Really close there between, there is a caution in the back. Oh, Nate Catilla, the 17, the 33, Doug McCollum involved. Catilla in the 4 there. When you said there was trouble, I thought you were meaning that the 14 and the 33, they got really close. But there you see on the replay, there was something happening a little bit further back. Nate Catilla, the number 1 there, Thomas Wise getting a piece of it. And, unfortunately, Cameron, those two drivers of Matos and Thomas Wise, they're both involved in that, so neither of them will get the lucky dog.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, and that it looked like the 17 got pushed down in the apron for some reason, and when he got back up, they were already 3 wide, and just a bad play or a wrong place, wrong time type situation. So really nothing anyone could have done there. Just something that can happen, but it looks like that it's going to be bad for both of those drivers, because they are not going to be able to get their lap back under this caution. But either way, everybody will get their car fixed up and repaired, and there's always going to be, we still have 60 or so laps to go in this race, so plenty of time for both of those drivers to get their laps back and get back up to the front. But we are working lap 15, and I have to believe that these drivers at the front are going to come down and get some fuel. at least. Tires not so important here. You probably want to take right sides or left sides, depending on what kind of strategy you want to play, just because the time it takes to fuel the car will allow you to do that anyway. So I do see some drivers staying out. I'm not sure if that is staying out just to lead a lap for Tom Johnson, but either way, we'll see if he does come to the pits later on. But one thing I was going to say, Peter, a little bit hard to get into the pit boxes on this type of a racetrack, like the super speedways, because they do run small brake packages and the brakes just don't really work. So it's right there you see with Tanner Sharp, he slid through his pit box. It's so easy to do here. Christopher already done in a way. I'm not sure if he actually had any service done to his car, because that was an extremely quick pit stop. Have to wait and see about that. But there's Tanner Sharp getting away, and followed by Kyle Zimmer as well as the rest of the field.
Yeah, you definitely nailed it, Brent. I mean, these small brakes on these super speedway package cars it's really tricky. I mean, it catches me out almost every time I come to a super speedway. I just, hit the brakes, not expecting the brakes to be as weak as they actually are. And you get on the brakes, and they're also very easy to lock up, too. So if you're at pace, they're easy to lock up. They don't want to slow down the car, and I mentioned earlier, you want to practice getting to pit road at least once or twice, but getting into your pit box is just as important, if not more important, because you're going to do it under caution. And, you and I have seen someone sliding through their pit box under caution, costing them the race.
Absolutely, and I think that really is one of the hardest aspects of super speedway racing right there, as silly as it might sound. Stock car brakes are bad by themselves at a track where they have good brakes, but they have the lesser brake packages here. So it really, you do it over and over and over again, but it does still catch you out as a driver. We see it all the time in the real life series. They just slide through the box, and it's nothing you can do. You just have to be so aware about it and really slow down so early in the pit lane, and it just it's kind of counterintuitive, but it's just something that you kind of have to get down and do over and over again. And even still, it can catch a driver out. But here we see Billy Wise and Tom Johnson coming to pit road. Who I think Billy Wise is actually going to stay out. Yes, he does, as well as AJ Digby did not come to pit road. But here comes Tanner Sharp coming to pit road again. Going to probably top off his fuel. And there's Fernando Matos coming to pit road. He is a lap down, of course. And you see that car a little bit beat up from the accident, a lot of damage on that machine, so he's going to come down and get it all fixed up and get that fast repair and see if he can get his lap back in a future caution.
Yeah, and Tanner Sharp did use a fast repair under this pit sequence, which I thought was a little bit surprising. Tanner Sharp is kind of known to save his fast repairs, but he did use one in that number 3 Mountain Dew Chevrolet. He's actually just now leaving his pit box once more, maybe getting a little bit extra fuel. It'd be interesting to see. We have 60 laps to go right now, or 59 laps to go, as we have just crossed the start-finish line. And that maybe Tanner Sharp's thinking about fuel window already, because if we get a long green flag run, maybe you can only make it from one stop from here.
Absolutely, and even it really at a track like this, as we see Alan Capers brutally murdering a cone like he always does. So I think I don't know if that is the first one he's got in this race, but see the cone on the backstretch there. It definitely had a family, and no longer it does not have the family anymore. But at a track like this, really, if you can get that one extra lap of fuel, that can really play into your advantage. Say if people come down pit road and you're able to stay one lap and there's a caution coming down the pit road, that can put you up in the lead and really make or break your race. That kind of happened to me a few weeks ago, where I came down pit road one lap too late, and the caution came out as I was coming to pit road, and kind of just threw the entire race out the window right there. But it's just the kind of a chance you take when you pit here under green. Anything can happen, and you can just be in that unfortunate position where it does burn you pretty bad, or you can be on the opposite end where you pit at the right time and it gives you a huge advantage. So Tanner definitely thinking about that. Tanner is a very good restrictor plate driver, I will say. He definitely knows what he's doing, and a very good drafting partner to have for anyone, and he definitely will be a factor later in this race.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Tanner comes back down pit road, because pit road is still open. We yet to have the one to green. Looks like that number 3 machine will stay out as the pace car goes through the tri-oval. But I was going to say, if Tanner comes back down pit road, we basically would confirm that he's thinking about fuel at this present moment in time, because, you know, kind of at a super speedway, he's already at the back of the pack. You can just keep coming down, getting a little bit extra fuel. Kind of as a rule of thumb, you use about half the fuel under pacing that you use under green flag conditions, so I'm sure Tanner's got that in the back of his mind somewhere. But pace car lights have finally turned off and get set to go back to green flag here in just a little bit. Billy Wise did stay out in that number 32 machine, so he will assume the race lead once we go back to green flag racing in just about 2 miles from now. Christopher Burge currently sitting in third. Kyle Zimmer in that number 25 Home Depot machine, he's currently sitting in the 4th position. Kyle slowly creeping his way through the field. And then Travis Zudema rounding out your top 5.
Yeah, and of course that 25 machine, Kyle Zimmer, we did see him take a ride at Daytona earlier on this year. Did about 20 rolls in the air or something like that. So a very crazy wild wreck. Something I've not seen something like that in a long time. You know, even with iRacing's goofy crash physics, it was just a crazy wreck even regardless. So you know, probably something you got to think about as a driver. Just don't want to get involved in a wreck like that again. And you know, with iRacing's crazy crash physics, he did take 20 rolls in there and was able to drive away. So it kind of does work both ways.
Yeah, sometimes you can just a little bit of a little love tap from another car, and all of a sudden your motor explodes. Or you can go barrel rolling, you know, 50 times through the air on the ground, and your car can drive away. I mean, iRacing sometimes has some interesting logic. Let's just say that. Well, pace car lights are off as we work our way through turns number 3 and 4. Relatively long pace laps here at Talladega, just because the track is 2.66 miles long. But we're getting set to go back to green flag racing. Just as a points update, your points leader coming into tonight, Dave Wilson, like we said, he's not here. Kyle Zimmer, in that number 25 machine, he's second in points here tonight, and he's looking for that good finish. Tanner Sharp, he's looking for a good race, sitting third in points in that number 3 machine. AJ Digby currently sitting second on the racetrack, 20 points behind, and Chris Roberge sitting third. He's currently 5th as pace car has headed down pit road. Gets set to go back to green flag racing. Green flag in the hands of the flag man, and green flag back out to number 32, Billy Wise. He's suffering with a little bit of wheel spin, Cameron, on that restart. Not too surprised there. Wheel spin is a thing you get on some older tires here, but a good restart by the whole field not to stack him up, as that inside groove now working at the 98 of Roberge right on the back bumper of Wise, pushing him down the back stretch. And the number 14 of Digby's dropped back to the 3rd position, at least for now. He's got the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer tucked up behind him, and here comes Roberge. Roberge jumps up to the high line with a strong move, trying to get that help from Digby to push him to the front. But look at Zudema. Zudema's filled that hole right behind number 32 of Billy Wise. Doug McCollum running way up high in that 3rd group through turns number 3 and 4. But Zudema trying to push Billy Wise to keep the lead here as they work their way through the tri-oval. Pretty action-packed here once we get back to the green flag.
Ooh!
Contact! Oh, Billy Wise hard in the wall. We're back under caution here at Talladega, and that's not what Billy Wise wanted. Oh, contact there with Thomas Wise in the number 1. Thomas Wise, of course, was looking for the lucky dog in that number 1 machine. Not quite sure who was ahead, whether Wise, Thomas Wise, or Fernando Matos. If you go back and see this on the replay, this looks like a little bit of a hook there on that number 32 machine, and then he worked his way back down the racetrack, and Thomas hit Billy. The Wise drivers are related, and that was definitely an unfortunate event. Man, it all happened so quick, Cameron.
Yeah, to me, I was actually about to say that Mr. Burge, one thing I noticed about the way he drives at these super speedways is he's very aggressive with the side drafting. He likes to pull down right on to the door of the car below him, and we saw it right there, but the risk you take with doing that is, you know, I think Billy Wise was not quite where he thought quite where Chris thought he would be, and he kind of just hooked him into the wall. And it's not that he like tried to hit him or something. It's just he was trying to be aggressive with that side draft, because it does help you get a good run, and it just was an unfortunate circumstance of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see if Fernando Matos gets the lucky dog here. I can't quite tell whether or not he was ahead of Thomas Wise when the caution came out, because that number 17 went way down onto the flat portion of the racetrack on the apron to avoid that accident. And when he was down there, Thomas Wise was up on the racing surface, so I couldn't quite tell. We'll get to see here in about half a lap whether or not the number 17 gets the lucky dog or not. We do know, however, Thomas Wise, that contact will disqualify him for the lucky dog, at least this caution period. That's how iRacing works. If you get any incident point, including, I believe, a 0x even, it will disqualify you from receiving the lucky dog, which some drivers aren't too excited about every once in a while. But we do have a couple of drivers on pit road. In fact, we have a lot of takers on pit road. 7 cars stay out, and it's about half the field, and the other half of the field coming down. Travis Zudema is staying out. AJ Digby right behind him. Look at Tim Masters there, gonna restart in third, assuming he doesn't pit here, and then Tanner Sharp right behind him, and the rest of the field is down on pit road. Looks like Kyle Zimmer is going to come down for a splash of fuel. Looks like Zimmer will be the first car off pit road. Burge is going to take that fast repair of that number 98 machine, as does Billy Wise in the number 32. Alan Capers looks like he's taking 4 fresh tires. McCollum rolling off pit road. Tom Johnson as well. Currently sitting on pit road, we got Billy Wise, Alan Capers, and Thomas Wise. Meanwhile, everyone else has worked their way back to the racetrack, where the race is being led by the number 90 of Zudema. Great to see him up front here in that number 90 machine. And of course, you got AJ Digby right behind him in that Zulu Motorsports Ford Mustang. And Tim Masters in a Chevrolet sitting third.
And Zudema, of course, started last on the field, 15th out of 15 cars. So really just I've shown you that qualifying is not very important here at all. And, you can make your way forward and backwards in a hurry. So, of course, is your biggest mover, because he is leading and he started dead last. So, just kind of shows you. But he was able to notch a win earlier in this season at the Bristol Motor Speedway. So really that is about as much of a different racetrack as you can get from Talladega. So we'll see how he does on these plate tracks, if he can hold that lead and do something with it for the rest of this race.
Yeah, it was really awesome to see Zudema go to victory lane at Bristol. That was a couple weeks ago. It's about 3 weeks ago, I think, that Zudema was able to go to victory lane at Bristol Motor Speedway. But just to update you on the lucky dog situation, Fernando Matos in the number 17 did get the lucky dog, so he'll be back on the lead lap down in about the 14th position. Alan Capers, we saw him with damage earlier in the race. He's got that number 13 machine repaired. He's currently running in the 13th position, so, 13s are wild for Alan Capers, at least at the moment. As he returns to the back of the field, as we work our way here under caution at Talladega. 22 laps will have been completed this time by, as they get fairly close to their stripe. Of course, Talladega is different than Daytona International Speedway, because the start-finish stripe is actually well past the trial. There it is, as they go past. I know that's a pretty, interesting tidbit that people always discuss when you go to Talladega, because the race can be finished after the trial, unlike Daytona. But Alan Capers go down and get the cone just outside of your screen, just off screen. He got the pit road exit cone. Hopefully he doesn't get a black flag for that one. But I know Alan Capers, he always goes for that cone, so he probably wouldn't mind too much, even if he did get a black flag, because he killed the cone. That's sometimes I wonder if Alan Capers is just out there to hit the cone lap after lap. He did it at Phoenix.
Absolutely, and it's kind of why they call him Conehead in the league. He does go out there and get those cones every chance he gets. Actually, did not get that one. Oh, yes, he did. So, yeah, you see the cone right there, that blue cone on its side, gasping for help. No, of course, nobody going to go help it, because the iRacing cone man is he's right out there right after he hits the cone, and he's right out there resetting it. So really, he's the MVP. He goes out there without question, and race cars on the track or not, just goes out there and resets that cone.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there'll be cars to the left of them, cars to the right, but that cone man will go out there, pick it up, drag it over. Pretty impressive. Does it so quickly too. I mean, as soon as you see the cone move, it's back where it originally was.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be throwing those pace lights off here in just a moment once we take the long trek down that front straightaway with that start-finish line right down near the end. That's about a mile long or so. I mean, maybe a little bit less, but quite a long distance from right here to that start-finish line. Of course, in NASCAR, they always say at this point in the race on the last lap, start-finish line isn't in the tri-oval, it's down near turn 1. So it's kind of why we see the finishes we do at Talladega. It gives a long time to make a move for any driver that's behind that leader to try to win that race. But give you a quick rundown of the top 10 before we get going green on this caution. Travis Zuidema, your leader. AJ Digby second. Tim Masters, haven't talked too much about him in this race, but having a pretty quiet night himself in third. Tanner Sharp, your pole sitter in fourth. Nate Catilla in that tribute car he's running tonight is running fifth. Johnny Berardi sixth. Kyle Zimmer seventh. Chris Reverge eighth. Doug McCollum ninth. And Tom Johnson rounding out your top 10 for the time being. But as we said, those pace car lights are off, and we're going to be getting back going green here in about 2 minutes time.
And of course, with Fernando Matos back onto the lead lap, 14 of the 15 starters now on the lead lap at this one, and that's great to see at this point, as there's kind of a strategy call when to use them. Sometimes you see some drivers actually right with here as sim races, and he had to take a tow back to pit road there, so that's a tough break for that number 33 machine. We've seen Doug be really fast tonight. Tom Johnson receiving a little bit of damage, unfortunately, in that event. So looks like we're not going to wave off the caution, or the restart, I should say, here. But definitely a tough break for Tom. Got a little bit of damage.
Yeah, and Colin has actually retired from the event, so I would have to imagine that he has suffered a hardware failure. When that car got going again, it just went straight into the wall. So obviously in sim racing, that is kind of the sim racing equivalent of a engine failure or some kind of mechanical failure, a hardware failure. So not something you want to see at all. But we are getting back going green here in just a moment. Field controlled by Travis Zuidema and AJ Digby. Green flag is out. Look at that shove that Tanner Sharp gave AJ Digby. Digby not able to get going. I think he might have missed a gear. Might have started in third or something because he just did not get going. He's still not going. That was a really hard hit from behind Tanner Sharp. I have to imagine that Sharp's car will be a little bit damaged in that front end. But here comes Nate Catilla. He was probably the big winner on that thing. He has a really good run on Tim Masters with help from Kyle Zimmer, and Digby finally gets going again. He's on that high side. See if he can make the move to the lead. Yes, Nate Catilla does. Has a great run. He's going to drive past Travis Zuidema like he's standing still. That huge shove from behind from Kyle Zimmer. So that's kind of what you see here at plate tracks. You don't want to get too big of a lead because that car behind you will suck up to you in a hurry. You saw it right there with Zuidema. Nate Catilla able to go around him with no fault or no trouble whatsoever.
Yeah, without a doubt, great to see that number 4, Nate Catilla, out front running a car in memorial of one of his good friends who unfortunately passed away, but Nate Catilla leads here with 50 laps to go. Talladega reaching the 1/3 distance, and look at Tanner Sharp now. He's got a little bit of nose damage from that contact with AJ Digby there on the restart, but doesn't look to be slowing him down because he's got a full head of steam with help from Travis Zuidema. That number 3 is digging for the front. That outside lines also got Tom Johnson, who picked up a little bit of damage there under that caution flag. Chris Reverge in that number 98 started on the front row. Did Chris Reverge, and He's now trying to work his way forward after a little bit of contact there not too long ago, but they're side by side now for the race lead. It'll be interesting to see who leads this lap, because it's really tight up at the front. Give that lap to Tanner Sharp in the number 3. So number 3 and number 4 in numerical order there on the racetrack. Had to strike that last time by. And look at Travis Zudema there in the number 90. He's trying to see if he can squeak himself by that inside line as well. A couple of cars flirting with that yellow line down there on the inside. AJ Digby there running in the 6th position. Meanwhile, we're 3 wide behind them. Billy Wise in the middle. Ooh, contact with the outside wall. Alan Capers scraped the outside wall behind this lead pack, and that's going to hurt Alan Capers. He's basically going to lose the draft here. He's going about 20 miles an hour slower than the rest of the field, so Alan Capers is going to be out there like a sitting duck here in just a few laps, as Tanner Sharp has moved his way down to the inside line to get the outright lead. No, I take that back. Here comes Zudema on that high line now. The high line is looking pretty strong here tonight at Talladega.
Yeah, and it's 3 cars on the high side versus 3 on the bottom side, so a pretty even fight here. You kind of see the characteristics of that high side getting the run on the straightaway, but the bottom side right here going to come into play. Actually, no, Travis Zudema says he's going to cut the outside line, and he's going to go down right in front of the number 3 of Tanner Sharp and take his line away. So that's kind of what we call in sim racing a little bit of squiggliness there for the 90. You got a little bit of a bump from the 3, but we call that playing the draft, where you kind of just you move your line around and try to get that big push from behind. But the bottom or the top side, it's like it is forming up a little bit again with Roberge, Digby, and Zimmer. They have a pretty good run through turn 1 right now. We'll see if they can get the run on the backstretch. I think they will, depending on how tight they are off the corner. But here comes Tanner Sharp playing the lines again, like we were just saying. He's going to take that outside line away and get that big push, go around Zudema pretty easily, and he's going to bring those cars behind him with him. Zudema only has Nate Catilla with him right now. Johnny Berardi is a few car lengths back, so not much they can do at the time being. Just have to kind of let it happen. But very good push there from Chris Roberge for Tanner Sharp. Going to push him out to the front, and they're going to both clear the number 90.
And you know, I said that Alan Capers had lost the draft. Another driver who lost the draft is Tim Masters. We were just talking about him not too long ago. Not quite sure what happened with Tim, because he was in the lead pack. It seemed like all of a sudden he just rolled out of it and lost that pack. So Tim Masters, however, has caught up with Alan Capers, and those 2 drivers are going to try and work together to see if they can stay on the lead lap here. Fernando Matos and Thomas Wise also working together. They're a couple of probably about 50 car lengths behind the lead pack as we go 3 wide, middle of the pack. Tanner Sharp there in the middle, Tom Johnson on the outside, Nate Catilla on the inside, and now they're going to go back to 2 wide as Tom Johnson wasn't quite able to hold up with Tanner Sharp. I say that, Sharp's going to cut to the middle, Zimmer to his outside, Catilla to the inside, and what a run Tanner Sharp has got. Slicing the field up the middle, and Tanner Sharp went from about the 8th position up to 4th in just about a quarter of a lap.
That was a huge run for that. Ooh, trouble! The 14 got turned by the 98, and that's the bumper hook right there. See, everybody just about involved, and what a mess on the backstretch we have. I saw that. It was so quick how it happened. Just nothing that anyone could do, but definitely a bad push from behind for that number 14, and you kind of saw what happened there. We'll see what happened on the replay. Right, yep, he just, 14 was a little bit higher on track than 98, and just the aerodynamics of this B car just sent that number 14 around. You have no chance to catch it when that happens. I've been in that position so many times. It goes around so quickly. So you're going to see here from the onboard of Digby. It's just going to whip around, and yep, right there, you know, before you even know it, you're backwards and you get hit from cars, and just nothing you can do as a driver.
Now, I want to see if we go on board with Kyle Zimmer in the number 25 machine, because I don't think he got any damage from that. It looked like he was in the Hornet's nest the whole time in that number 25. Let's see, here we go, on board with Kyle Zimmer. You see that the wreck happened in front of him. He's going to cut down to the inside here. Oh, really tight there. Stays off the inside wall. What a job of keeping that number 25 nice and clean. going through the melee as it was right in front of him. A couple of cars receiving damage, but Kyle Zimmer keeping that number 25 as clean as possible.
That very impressive job by him. Good call on that onboard gear. That was really something to watch. How really you saw he had to drive not only as the wreck was happening, but even after it was really done. You know, he just had to keep his car clean, and you saw how close he was to spinning it out, getting that next to the inside wall. So very impressive, and of course that is why he is a champion in the Truck Series. Good driving performance on that, and you know, very good wreck avoidance there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to see some of the drivers who've yet to use a fast repair use them here, including AJ Digby, who was your race leader when he got turned around. A couple of other drivers who will be using fast repairs. I'm sure we'll see the 56 use a fast repair of Tom Johnson. Johnny Berardi in the 99 will most likely use a fast repair just because they all received some form of damage in that accident, as did Chris Roberge. So all those drivers now coming down pit road. Ooh, Billy Wise had to back up into his pit stall there. He just kind of slid through. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Cameron. And Roberge is going to use that fast repair. Looks like he took 2 tires. He's going to be the first one off pit road. And Tanner Sharp. Ooh, Tanner Sharp might have spun his tires a little bit and almost spun the number 3 out. Was able to keep it going straight. Not quite sure if Billy Wise or Tanner Sharp came off pit road first. Looks like Tanner Sharp did. But at least out of those two, because Chris Roberge was overall the first car off pit road. But Fernando Matos in the number 17, he was a lap down not too long ago. And he stayed out, and now Fernando Matos in the 17 is your race leader.
And one thing I see on your screen right there, that green and black car, that's Tanner Sharp. He did not take a fast repair, and there is quite a significant amount of damage on that left front fender. So, you know, we were talking about how he is very picky with using those fast repairs, and obviously electing not to take one in this caution. But you have to think that that is going to hurt him a little bit in the draft if you know, he is able to get up to speed. Probably not going to be up to 100% pace, but maybe, you know, he feels like he's able to drive around with that and make the best of it for the time being, and try to just save those fast repairs for the end of this race.
Yeah, and Cameron, I mean, at point we have 43 laps to go. I think we are just now getting fairly close to the window at which we'll be able to make it from here. So, you know, even if you have one pit stop left, Tanner Sharp will have a fast repair to use with that next pit stop, I'm sure. Like we said, he definitely conserves them more than some others, kind of as a strategy move. And that's why we've seen Tanner Sharp get to victory lane a couple times here in the SimPossible Racing League. But we're back under the caution flag. It does look like all 14 of your runners now back on the lead lap. Unfortunately, Doug McCollum did take his number 33 to the garage. Looks like a possible mechanical failure on possibly a sim rig or something like that. That took that number 33 out. That's definitely a tough break for him. But all 14 of your cars still on the racetrack are on the lead lap. Good to see. Thomas Wise finally able to get that number 1 back to the lead lap. Get him a shot to get this win here tonight, as we have just now passed lap number 33 of the 75 scheduled here tonight. We haven't really talked about the weather conditions here tonight, but it's currently 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 115 degrees track temperature. That's pretty warm for a track like Talladega, and although tires don't mean everything here, with a track temp that's as high as 115 degrees Fahrenheit, you might have a couple drivers think twice about taking only 2 tires.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw the kind of culmination of that track temperature on the last restart with the drivers that did stay out on those older tires. You saw there was a lot of wheel spin, which is not something you typically get at a track like this, just because the engine is restricted, and you know, we're running somewhere around, I believe, about 450 to 500 horsepower in super speedway trim, so not a lot of power to put down on the pavement. But with the track temperature like it is, you really have to be aware of that, and it's something that is even more apparent in the Cup cars now, because they don't have the restrictor plate. They have they have a tapered spacer with a little bit more horsepower than they used to have. We saw a couple times where with the track temperature like that, you really can spin up the tires in the Cup cars now quite easily at Daytona and Talladega. So I think it's going to be something that these drivers are going to have to look out for on the restart. And definitely Billy Wise was the principal one that we saw kind of not able to get the power down, so he knows what is probably going to be coming on this restart. I believe the only car that stayed out correctly was the number 17, so he's going to be the worst off tire-wise, and everybody else probably, I think, at least took 2. So he's going to have to make sure that he's straight on the wheel and easy on the gas on this restart.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, restarts can be some of the most treacherous times because you get that car up into the power band and all of a sudden it starts to snap around on you, and you really want to just get a good restart and keep the power down. Sometimes it's kind of against your instincts to roll off the throttle because you want to get such a good start, and sometimes that can lead to trouble. Alan Capers did stop on the inside of the racetrack ever so briefly. I wonder if he was just making an adjustment or something, but he's back rolling, catching up to the back of the field here as pace car lights have turned off. We'll get set to go back to green flag racing in just about 2 miles from here. As you see all of these cars double up. We do double file restarts here in the SimPossible Racing League. Always enjoy seeing that. Johnny Berardi, Thomas Wise are both kind of towards the back of this pack currently. I'm kind of surprised. Johnny Berardi has a lot of damage on that number 99 machine, at least on the right rear corner. So I'm guessing he did not elect to take a fast repair under this caution, deciding to save that fast repair for another time later in the event. Could be an interesting strategy call. We'll see how that plays out. We're about half a lap away from the green flag.
Yeah, and you see a lot of the drivers in precaution here kind of gassing up their cars. I think that might have been something about what I was saying earlier. They're just kind of checking to see if that wheel spin is going to be a thing. I saw the Ford do it a little bit. You see he backed off a little bit and he's gassing it up. I saw Billy Wise do it. I saw the 90 do it. So really that's something as a driver that they typically do, kind of just a little bit of a test to see if that car will hook up. I think the only driver that might have an issue is that 17. He does have the oldest tires of everyone out on the track right now, so we'll have to watch him. But I think everybody does know from that last restart where the tires were a little bit not so good off. I think they know what to expect on this restart. But that pace car pulling down below that apron, have about a mile or about half a mile from this point right now to get to that restart point. And all restarts in the SimPossible Racing League are on the green flag, so these drivers have to wait for that green to come out, wait for that flagman to throw the flag out. But he has it in his hands right now and going to throw it out here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, the field had a really slow run to the green flag. Fernando Matos then beat them down, but the green flag back in the air. Everyone pretty good restart, at least for Tanner Sharp and Fernando Matos. Nick Attila dropped a few car lengths back in that number 4 machine, but as they get wound up getting the draft here, watch that number 4. I expect that number 4 to get a huge run here down the back stretch once they finally get that draft into full effect. See Chris Roberge has jumped up to the high side of the number 98. We'll have to see if he's going to stay up there for now. He does. Catilla's going to close up to the back bumper of that number 98. Here comes that outside groove. Billy Wise closing up to the back of Chris Roberge, trying to get that side-by-side action. Meanwhile, the number 17, Fernando Matos, continues to lead, at least for now. Here comes Tanner Sharp, though. Sharp's going to want that race lead once again. We've seen that number 3 lead a couple times, but Roberge has not stayed behind Tanner Sharp. Roberge has gone to the high side. Here's 3 wide now for the race lead, and Matos led that lap almost 4 wide there for a second. It was Nick Attila showed his nose to the inside of that number 17, but we're still... Oh! Contact in the back! AJ Digby hard in the wall. Tsunoda hard in the wall. Alan Capers in the 13 also with a lot of damage. Caution back in the air.
Yeah, that was a weird accident. Let's wait and see what happened. But all I saw was the 14 shoot into the wall head on. and I think there might have been something. Ooh, yeah. See, Alan Capers got a little bit out of shape there, hit the 90, and then bounced into the 14, and just a hard hit for that 14. Of course, we saw him involved in the last caution, so he's not happy about that. Definitely going through his fast repairs a lot quicker than he wants to at this stage of the race. But AJ Digby is a driver who we say kind of jokingly a little bit, but we say it out of love that he does have some of the worst luck that we've seen, and just got a feel for him, because there was nothing he could have done right there. He got almost blindsided by the 13 getting into him, and just absolutely nothing you can do as a driver in that situation.
Yeah, definitely reflector for AJ Digby. A couple of other cars receiving damage included Brian Lowhead, Zudema, Johnny Berardi, and the number 99 also got a decent amount of damage. So expect to see a couple of other, or at least those drivers, come down and get a fast repair, assuming they have some left. Alan Capers did his job there and also got the cone, so not too surprised that Caper has ended up hitting the cone, but he did. Not quite sure if he meant to do that or if that's just how that all played out. Either way, Alan Capers, Mr. Conehead himself, killing another cone. So we're back under caution here at just about the halfway mark, as we have 38 to go. This time by will be the halfway mark, as we will have completed 38 of the 75 scheduled laps this time by. But definitely a couple of drivers will have come down and get that fast repair this time. We'll see if Fernando Matos. No, Fernando Matos, he stays out on the racetrack in that number 17. He's enjoying being up the front, Cameron, and I think that's because, going back to what you said earlier, the front is typically the safest place to be, although we've seen at least once tonight that wasn't the case when Digby got turned around when he was up the front, but typically the front is the safest place.
Yeah, and Fernando Matos did a great job of proving me wrong. He got a fantastic restart that last time with those older tires, and obviously knows what he's doing, knows what to do in that situation. So a good restart on his part, and was able to hold the lead, even with the challenge from that 90 of Chris Verge and the 3 of Tanner Sharp. So good to see that. Good to see Fernando leading this race. Of course, does not have a win yet, but did notch off a podium finish a few weeks ago. I believe it was at Bristol where Travis Zudema was able to win. So, it was good to talk to him, and just kind of because he is a newer driver to the SimPossible Racing League, but a good addition to the league nonetheless.
Yeah, without a doubt. And this league, of course, continues to grow. I mean, this time last year, really, SimPossible wasn't even a league at this point. And they had a half season kind of on the Truck Series side, and now we've completed a full Truck Series season with Kyle Zimmer winning that championship. And this B-Car Series just continues to get drivers week after week, and drivers like Fernando Matos, relatively new to the league. Now even Fernando Matos is coming to be a veteran of the SimPossible series. So definitely great to see the new faces here in the SimPossible series, because it is a fantastic series for all these drivers. And if you're new to the SimPossible series, if you haven't watched us here before, this is a league for disabled drivers. All of these drivers in this field tonight have some form of disability, and this is a place for them to race, without any form of judgment, a place to come and have fun. And it's a place where you can really tell that the drivers have fun. You talk to each one of these drivers, they love being here. It's a great place to commentate. It's just a lot of fun to be around these folks, because they're having a lot of fun. You want to be with your friends when they're having fun, and that's kind of what it's like here. It's a great place to be, and we have people helping us out. MS Ford, go check out msford.org. They're definitely one of the league sponsors, and MS Ford, you see their name up there on the screen. That is a gym for disabled folks. They're even doing online streaming now of different workouts and stuff. So definitely some forward-thinking people here in the SimPossible Racing League, and it's great to be a part of.
Absolutely, and you know, with this league compared to a lot of others that I've seen and been in, you can definitely tell, like you said, Peter, it is really a just a place for friends to hang out first and a league second. You know, it's a lot of leagues. It's more about competition with just a bunch of people that you barely know. But all these drivers are friends, and they joke around with each other. They you come into their chats, and they're making fun of this and that, and just having a good time. And it's good to see that. There's Alan Capers there taking out once again another cone. So you see that cone laying on the backstretch, and it's already gone. So the cone man doing his job, resetting that cone, and Alan Capers doing his job in taking that cone out. But it's really what sets this league apart from everyone else, and it's why it's a good place to come out and for myself, it's why I love commentating this league, because it's so different than any other league, and it's just a great part, or a great place to be. It's almost like a family, really. It's just everybody gets their families involved, and it's just a great place to come and do stuff with.
Yeah, without a doubt, Alan Capers got cone again this lap, so the cone person will have to go replace the cone yet again there on the backstretch. Pace car lights are off. We're getting set to go back to green flag racing. Let's reset the field for you. Fernando Matos is your race leader. Christopher Burge sits second. Tanner Sharp third. Nate Catilla in the number 4 machine sits in the 4th position. Actually, the 3rd place car is the number 3, and the 4th place car is the number 4. How about that? Kyle Zimmer sits in 5th. Billy Wise 6th. Thomas Wise 7th. Travis Zuda, Alan Capers, and AJ Digby round out your top 10. Tim Masters, Tom Johnson, Johnny Berardi, Brian Lowhead also still on the lead lap and looking to move forward here as we now work our way through the tri-oval here. 55 miles an hour currently up at the front. Fernando Matos bringing him down nice and slow. Again, he did this on the last restart and got a really big jump. Green flag back in the air. Matos with the power down, and Matos is going to get another really good jump. And as did Tanner Sharp. Tanner Sharp was ready for that. Look at that bump draft. Not even to turn 1 yet. Tanner Sharp's all over the back bumper of that number 17. And here comes Kyle Zimmer in that number 25 Home Depot machine. He's going to move up into the 3rd position, right behind Tanner Sharp. Nate Catilla going to follow through. He's back in the 4th position. Christopher Burge is going to sit in 5th spot as they all fan out coming down the backstretch.
Yeah, Tanner Sharp and Kyle Zimmer are hooking up on the outside of Fernando Matos. They have help from Catilla and Burge right behind them, but Sharp, Zimmer, and Fernando Matos were able to hook up immediately on the restart. You saw them kind of get that good run. Here comes Nate Catilla. He had a good run through turn 3 and 4. See if he can do anything with it. No, he does not. He pulls in line behind those two Chevrolets in front of him, Zimmer and Sharp. He's going to pull up onto the outside, but Roberge is going to go even further outside of him. He's got some help from behind Billy Wise and Zudova, and in front, Kyle Zimmer pulls out from behind Sharp and tries to get that run. We haven't seen Zimmer at the front too much this race yet. I don't believe he's actually led any laps yet, but he's going to look and try to do that right now. He's got a pretty good run down the backstretch, and yes, he is going to take the lead pretty handily. That outside line has a lot of momentum right now. We'll see if he moves to the bottom and stays where he is, but definitely a good push from behind with that number 98. And he does move to the bottom, but Christopher Burge stays on the outside line. He has help from Billy Wise and Zudema, so Christopher Burge is going to get the good run out of turn number 4, and Zimmer's hope of leading this race is going to be shot down pretty quickly. But either way, he does have his buddy behind him, Tanner Sharp. Those two pretty good drafting partners right there. Of course, ex-teammates, I believe. But I believe Christopher Burge led that lap. Billy Wise on the outside. He's got help from Zudema and Capers. And Capers, no cone on the front of that car yet. Doesn't want to hit the cone right now, but he does have cars in front of him, pushing those 2 cars in front of him to the lead.
Yeah, in your top 10, pretty much all 2 by 2. Tanner Sharp got shuffled back. Ooh, look at this move by Billy Wise and Zudema. That was dangerous there. Zudema really cut off Roberge. That was a almost like a last lap maneuver, but Zudema's going to slot back in the 2nd position. Roberge back in 3rd, and now here comes the inside line. a little bit further back. Zimmer in 4th. Sharp trying to follow through in 5th. As Reverge now going to jump up to the high side. Got the 25 of Zimmer right behind him. They're going to go side by side now for the race lead, going through turn number 1. Once again, your top 10, all 2 by 2. As for now, Tanner Sharp getting a little bit buffety there right in the middle. Sometimes you get that kind of wibble wobble there right in the middle of the corner, and Tanner Sharp almost drifted up into the 13 of Allen Capers, but outside line.
Oh, trouble!
No! Robert off the nose, and here's the big one. Cars are everywhere, and look at Roberge there spinning. Zimmer going for a long spin. Billy Weiss there going for a spin. And they're still wrecking up front. The 17 and the number 99 going around as we speak, as we go to this replay. And Cameron, it looks like the number 98 just got turned off the bumper of the 25.
Yeah, another bad bump situation right there. Just kind of been the really the story of this race, just with this B car. It really is so easy to do that. It's almost comically easy. I really wish the NASCAR would address that in the real life so we can get it in the sim. But you know, it's just something that happens, and you know, one small mistake really can just cause that. You pretty much saw most of the field get taken out right there. A bit of a side accident. It's like Fernando Matos got in, wasn't able to get his car back going, and got into somebody a couple of seconds after the main accident. So that's interesting to see there. But it looks like everybody was able to get back going again and get their cars fixed up. Travis Dudema, your leader right now, but is quite heavily damaged on the front and rear of that machine. So I can't really see who doesn't have damage in the field. Looks like that number 4 of Catilla is probably the best off right now, has the least amount of damage on the front end at least. Looks like everyone else is pretty banged up. The number 1 of Thomas Wise, who was a little bit behind the pack, looks like he got off pretty well as well. So, you know, I haven't talked about him too much this race. He did spend much of it a lap down, just kind of getting involved in wrecks. Actually, he does have a bit of damage on the front, but is not too bad. But yeah, that's what you kind of just get there. You know, most of the field looks like they are pretty banged up right now.
Yeah, but the only car I see without damage currently is Brian Lowhead, and I'm not 100% sure whether or not Lowhead actually has some damage. It was kind of a graphical thing, but he might have got a little bit of work damage from one of the cars under that accident, but that number 66 is going to stay out on the racetrack. That's Brian Lowhead, and he's the only car staying out there on the racetrack. So Lowhead will assume the race lead as everyone else scrambles down onto pit road to get as much damage repaired as possible. I'm sure we'll see some of these drivers use fast repairs, assuming they have some left, including Tanner Sharp in that number 3 machine. He had some front end damage that he had been racing with for a while, so that number 3 will now be nice and fixed up, nice and clean. And as he's rolling, as they drop the jacks, there goes number 32, Billy Wise. Chris Burge rolling. Thomas Wise at the 1 there on the left side of the screen now rolling. Tom Johnson in the number 56. He's still got some damage. I wonder if that 56 is out of fast repairs here with 30 laps to go. Tim Masters also rolling with damage. Both of those cars, maybe they think they're not badly damaged, and they're just saving a fast repair for later in their race. But definitely Tim Masters and Tom Johnson gonna see what their cars are like with a little bit of damage here at Talladega. I'm sure they got as much damage fixed as possible because the pace car is still just about 3/4 of the way down the back stretch. So you can see it right there in the middle of your screen. I guess, 56 and the number 9 got as much damage repaired as possible. So well, hopefully they're able to stay with the leaders here once we go back to the meet.
And 2 more drivers to kind of keep an eye on is that 14 of Digby and 17 of Matos. They also stayed on pit road for an extended period of time. Did not take a fast repair. I don't know if either driver is out or they just elected not to. That will be something that we have to check up on. We know Digby has been in a few accidents. Fernando Matos, I don't believe he has been in that many, but Digby definitely has been in a few and might have ran out, but we'll have to see. He might have 1 left and he's just saving it for that inevitable, something that might happen later on in this race. But we'll have to kind of maybe bring him in here and ask him later on.
Yeah, without a doubt, pace car works their way through the tri-oval here. This time by, we'll have 29 laps to go at Talladega. And let's see, maybe we can see if we can dial someone up here into the booth. Interesting to see if we can drag the number 3 of Tanner Sharp and see what his strategy is here. See if we can drag him in here real fast. There he is, Tanner Sharp, short in 3 wide TV booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, Tanner, man, that was a pretty big melee out there. You got through with a little bit of damage, but we noticed you used the fast repair. It looks like you've been saving that fast repair for a while in that number 3 Mountain Dew Chevrolet. But it seems like it's pretty difficult out there, at least the bump draft. Looks like we've seen a couple times tonight where a little bit off-center bumps leads to troubles. What's your perspective on that, and how's this race going for you?
The race is going fine for me. It's fun out here when we're not aggressively bump drafting. These cars are extremely sensitive on the bump drafting, especially with this aero package that we are currently using on iRacing. You know, we just got to kind of lay off the bumpers in the corners of the racetrack. You just have to. These cars are just extremely sensitive, especially on the entrance of the corner, and they get very light. So bump drafting, you can also spin somebody out on the straightaway too, so you really got to be very careful on your bump drafting. It looks like these guys, for the most part, are doing a pretty dang good job at it. Otherwise, we're having fun out here. We're keeping this number 3 up towards front. We led a couple laps, or a few laps here today. After starting on the pole, it's my first Dega pole ever on iRacing, so I'm pretty happy about that. So hopefully we can keep this thing up towards front and be there when it counts. We can put ourselves in the position to win. Circumstances are going to dictate the outcome.
Absolutely. Well, Tanner, you've had some great moves here tonight, putting the 3 wide in 3 wide TV. As we go back to green flag racing here in just a little bit, we wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, well, that was driver number 3 machine, Tanner Sharp, currently sitting in the 4th position. And definitely he's been pretty action-packed here tonight. But the pace car has now headed down pit road, Cameron.
Yeah, Brian Lohead is in a position where he has not been all race, has kind of hung back for the most part, but kind of got the lead because he wasn't he was the only driver not to be involved in that wreck, I believe. So he's gonna just see if he can just kind of hold the lead and do something with it. But he is the control car right now. Hey, for the flagman has the green flag in his hands, and we are under green here at Talladega after our 5th caution of the night. So our Alan Capers on the outside gets a pretty good restart. I think he's going to take the lead with that push from Tanner Sharp behind him, but not quite yet. He has not quite cleared that number 66 of Lowhead, and here he comes back on that bottom side with a push from Travis Zudema and Billy Wise with the high side a little bit more formed, more cars on it right now. They have Sharp, Roberge, and Zimmer, and like we were saying, the game of numbers is now won by that high side. You see Capers has been able to clear that number 66 of Lowhead, and he's going to pull down right in front of that bottom side and take that line away, leaving Tanner Sharp out to drive. But that high line still has a lot of momentum in it with that push from the 98 of Roberge and Zimmer. So we'll see if they can make a move on they can move down here on the front stretch. It looks like they do have a pretty good run. I think Tanner Sharp might have the run to take the lead. He's going to pull up next to Alan Capers. He's going to be close to the line. I believe Capers led that lap by just 1/1000th of a second, excuse me. But you kind of see how Chris Roberge has been very aggressive with the pushing all race, and has been very racy in the 98 machine. Kind of saw him at the root of a few accidents because of that pushing, but you see what it does for the car in front of him. Tanner Sharp able to get a good lead on the backstretch, Peter.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And Tanner definitely showing his muscle, and Chris Roberge showing his muscle too. I mean, we've seen Roberge be so good on restrictor plates, getting that win at Daytona to start off this Grand National B-Car Series season. You look out the back number of the number 3 machine. All you can see is Chris Roberge in that number 98. Here comes Kyle Zimmer, though, down to the inside, and Tanner Sharp's going to jump down there to block that number 25 machine. He's going to leave the 98 of Roberge high and dry here, at least for now. Here comes the number 13 of Alan Capers and Travis Zudema. In the number 90, we've seen Zuidema make some great charges to the front. As Roberge is going to jump up to the high side. Here comes Tanner Short jumping up to the high side. Playing the draft up in the front. Ooh. Oh, contact. Just a little bit, got a little bit squirrely there. And we're now 3 wide. The field kind of broken up just a little bit. With the number 98 of Roberge there in the
Look at the 9 of Tim Masters. Where did he come from?
Masters with a huge run. 4 wide.
Oh, no, contact.
The number 98 to Zimmer. Oh, Zimmer hard in the outside wall. We're still wrecking. Oh, the 90's in the wall. The 9's in the wall. It's going around. Huge accident here at Talladega. And Alan Capers finally got back on 4 wheels. Nate Catilla smoking. Let's see what happened on the replay. Now, it looked like the number 9 made contact there with, I think, 25. Let's see if we can get a different angle, or at least with the either the 25 or the 98. Oh, it had to be the 98. Christopher seeing it from this angle. Running on board with the number 25 here, Kyle Zimmer. They were 4 wide there for just a brief moment. Zimmer just got hooked in the right rear and hard in the outside wall. And oof, that's a tough break for that number 25. Zimmer's been able to keep that car pretty clean all night long. Let's see from this angle, looking on board with Nate Catilla in the number 4 machine. And you see this happen right there in front of him. And he did everything he could to avoid that accident going down into the grass, but unfortunately there was a spinning Roberge right in front of him right there at the end. Tough break for him as well.
And that was a huge hit for that number 4. Went head on to the wall, really didn't bleed off any speed whatsoever. Kind of reminiscent of the accident we saw with Kyle Busch at Daytona in the Xfinity race that ended up breaking his leg. So, you know, that's just kind of what happens here. But just looked like that number 4 of Tim Masters got a absolutely incredible run. He just kind of looked like he turned on the NOS and was able to shoot through the field, but just not enough room to make that work. The hole closed as soon as he got there, and really that's a second or third big one of the night, I believe.
Yeah, definitely a lot of the field now down there on pit road. Nate Catilla was able to bring the number 4 back around. The number 4 is billowing smoke currently. So hopefully Nate's got a fast repair as he hits his pit box. Indeed, he does have a fast repair. So that's good to see. Kyle Zimmer also using a fast repair. Tim Masters using a fast repair. Looks like the number 1 Thomas Wise. Alan Capers, on the other hand, he is sitting on pit road. He looks like he might be out of those fast repairs in that number 13 machine, because that thing has a lot of damage, as does Tom Johnson in the number 56. Travis Zuidema in that number 90. We were just talking about him right before that caution flag. Unfortunately for Zuidema, his night has come to an end. So Cameron, I think we've already seen the first driver run out of the fast repairs.
Yeah, and I got to think that number 13 as well, probably out of the fast repairs. So, you know, all that damage on the car gonna definitely hamper his chance in this race, but effectively take him out of it. I believe that number 56 as well looks like he is out. So thankfully the number 4 he was able to get his car fixed up. He was able to take a fast repair, but you know, we do have still about 24 laps to go, which is not a short amount of time at this track. So definitely these drivers that they're down to their last fast repair, or even, you know, none left, are going to have to be super conservative with their car, and just you know, maybe we might see a little bit of a kind of race to the back to just save the rest of what they have to get to the end of this race.
Yeah, I did notice a couple of those drivers near the back were able to get through that accident smoothly. So, you know, I think if you're on your last fast repair, that's probably a decent strategy. Just kind of lay back, because, you know, going back to what I said early in the race, in the pre-race, as one of my strategies to win here is just keep your car clean. You know, we've seen tonight that these cars are able to get huge runs. You're able to go from 10th spot up to 2nd spot in 2 or 3 laps. I mean, if that's all it's going to take, you know, conserve your car, wait for that final 10 laps, and that's when you should probably hit the loud pedal a little bit harder, especially if you're on your last fast repair, use your fast last repair, whatever. Because, Talladega, as soon as you get to those last few laps, action always heats up there towards the end. So, but, like you said, still kind of a long way to go, 23 laps, as we work our way under caution.
Yeah, and I do believe we can have a formation on that number 13 and 56. Looks like they are out of the pits, but still heavily damaged. And I believe they are both out of their fast repairs. Alan Capers coming down pit road, and once again, probably just trying to get the rest of that damage fixed as much as he can. Really, at that point, when you're out of fast repairs, it's kind of just, you got what you have, and really, you got to make the best of it. But that accident did play well into the hands of Tanner Sharp and Fernando Matos, because they are 1-2 right now. And Johnny Berardi, someone who we have not talked about all night, is now up to third place. So he was able to miss most of the melee, has a pretty clean looking car, I do believe. A little bit of dirt and grime on the front end, but that will not slow him down whatsoever. That's going to happen. So AJ Digby was able to take a fast repair as well. So, we were kind of talking about how he might have been low on them as well. But either way, looks like everybody besides Tom Johnson and Alan Capers was able to fix up their car. And of course, Travis Zudema, who unfortunately is in the garage right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. Want to give a shout out to some of the people in the chat. We got Mike Rourke saying hi. Wesley Lee, he's been rooting for Alan Capers here tonight. Unfortunately, Capers looks like he's got a decent amount of damage in that number 13 machine, trying to get some more repaired right now as we speak. And Wesley Lee, I mentioned Wesley, excuse me, Alex Bisson as well on there. So Wesley Lee, his name's quite a few times in the chat, so that's why I read it twice. But anyway, 23 laps to go, 22 this time by, and that is about 50 miles here still left to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to echo that kind of shout out to the chatters. We do appreciate all the chatters that come in and keep us company, and we do read your chats and try to respond to them. Wesley, of course, a big Alan Capers fan, typically pops in every race to root his friend on, so it's good to see that, and we do appreciate that. Wesley, good to see some fans of the drivers in this chat. I did actually see one for Fernando Matos as well, Mike Rourke. So thank you so much for coming in to hang with us. But you see that pace car has turned the lights off, that rough pace car. So we will be getting back going green here in just a moment. And see what happens on this restart. That was our, excuse me, I forgot how to speak English there. It was our 7th caution of the night, I believe. Either 6th or 7th. I haven't been counting too accurately, but not low on cautions, but not a complete wreck fest either. So, about a typical Talladega race we've seen so far. A little bit of issues here and there, but a lot of good racing throughout the field as well. And we'll see what these drivers can do with the final 21 laps when we go green here in just a moment. So, really going to be interesting to see what happens on this restart. Tanner Sharp, of course, we talked to him already. We know what his strategy for the rest of the race is, and we know that he is a very competent plate driver, and he's going to be very hard to beat. We've seen him be quite aggressive with the moves he's made, but has not done something to get himself in trouble yet. Has been involved in some trouble of others, but really has not gotten in, or he has not done something to get himself involved in trouble. So that's just something that we kind of expect from Tanner Sharp. He is a very good restrictor plate driver. We always say that when we come to tracks like this, and he will be someone to watch out for. That pace car is pulling off on the apron, and we're going to be getting going green here in just a moment, Peter.
Yeah, definitely. Pace car has pulled off down pit road. Race in the hands of the number 3 bright green machine of Tanner Sharp. Fernando Matos in the Haviland number 17 to his outside. We work our way through the trial a little bit more speedy this time in the around the 70-mile-an-hour window. Green flag back in the air. Ooh, look at the number 9, Tim Masters, back here running it to the outside of reversion number 98. Have an interesting restart for him. Already going 3 wide, but up at the front The number 14 of AJ Digby is looking to pull himself up to the second position. Indeed, he has. Fernando Matos is going to slot back in the third position. Field kind of broken up, at least for now. Kind of a 4-car breakaway up at the front for the time being, with the 3, the 14, the 17, and the 25. That's a few car lengths back to Johnny Berardi, but Berardi's now got a good run here in the draft. And a little bit further broken up, a little bit further back, you can see on the right side of your screen. But for now, the number 14 of Digby just riding behind Tanner Sharp, at least for now. Ooh, Nate Catilla. Man, he shot way up the racetrack there, going through the trial. Boy, he's going to duck back in line. Currently running in the 6th position in that number 4 Memorial car. Great to see that number 4 paint scheme out there. So we've kind of formed a tandem almost of sort up at the front. Digby and Tanner Sharp. Digby really laying on that back bumper of that number 3 machine, at least for now. Number 17 now closes up. That's an interesting maneuver there, Cameron, that Matos kind of pulled. He laid back, number 4 getting down on the apron just a little bit. But that was an interesting move because the 17 laid back quite a bit. And he got a huge run on the 2. I'm wondering if that's something we're going to see later on in the race once we get close to the white flag.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those 2 cars out in front got such a lead that it really just allowed everybody behind to kind of get a good run. Speaking of good run, look at that outside line. Billy Wise and Burge. Of course, we've seen those 2 up in front all race long. Burge's been very aggressive with every move he's made and has, it's played off for him. He's been at the front for a majority of this race. But one thing I do notice about that number 14 machine of Digby, he is the loyal pusher of the day. He has not really made moves when he's been behind somebody. Ooh, a little bit of a move from Tanner Sharp. That's going to give Digby that inside line. He'll probably take the lead. He's going to push from the number 98 behind him. Tanner Sharp, I think he looked to make a move to get on the outside of that run with Zimmer and Roberge, but it did not work out for him at all. He lost the lead and is going to lose second and third position as well. Here comes Tim Masters. We saw him with that huge run a few cautions ago. Unfortunately resulted in a wreck, but there's Billy Wise. He's been a great pusher all day as well. So both him and Digby have been very loyal pushers for people in front of them. Have not been able to or have not, due to their own volition, made aggressive moves to get around anyone. But here comes Roberge and Tanner Sharp, 2 drivers who have been aggressive with the pushing and the making moves, and they are hooked up through turns 3 and 4. Looks like they have a pretty good run at the time being.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, they're side by side for the race lead. Looks like Roberge is just going to nose ahead, at least for now, as they go through the trial. Roberge might be looking to get down into that low in front of Digby, but for now, as my dog barks in the background, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, we let the dog in the broadcast booth here for a minute. That is totally all right. Still, at the front, the top 4 have gotten single file. Roberge, Sharp, Digby, and Tim Masters. The first battle was with Billy Wise. He kind of got shuffled out of the way, but he is going to pull behind the number 9 of Masters. There's Thomas Wise behind that number 32. Ooh, trouble! Huge hit in the back. That number 17 is pirouetting. I don't believe we have a caution just yet. I cannot believe we wouldn't have a caution for that. Let's see if race control does something about it. But either way, that number 17 went absolutely shooting through the air. And indeed, yes, we have a caution. Race control not going to have much of that. The score of Nate Catilla just came down on Fernando Matos for whatever reason, and he was involved in as well. But that number 17 took a ride. Absolutely crazy wreck right there. And we'll have to see. I do believe both of those drivers were some that we were looking at to see if they had any fast repairs left. Of course, both have a lot of damage on their cars now, so if they don't have fast repairs left, they're going to be hurting pretty badly.
We're going to have to ride on board with the number 66 well of Brian Lowhead. See if we can dial up that replay one more time. Because Brian Lowhead, he just went underneath the flying car of Fernando Matos. It was really, really close. Hopefully we can get this on replay once we find it. Here he is. Just right on board and see everything happen in front of him. He was a little bit further back in that number 66 machine. He actually was able to catch back up to the pack. Watch this happen right here. Whoa, just like that. He went right up the flying car of Fernando Matos. I mean, if you blink and you miss it. So Brian Lohead must be counting his blessings right now because he's out there. And it's not the first time tonight Brian Lohead has gotten away with no damage on that number 66 machine. So good on Brian Lohead to keep that number 66 nice and clean here tonight, at least as much as he can. And just like that, he has made his way to pit road, though. I'm sure he's going to come down and get some fresh tires, as most of your leaders staying out, including Chris Reverge, Tanner Sharp, and AJ Digby. In fact, only 3 cars did make their way down pit road this time by.
And Peter, I can tell you as a driver that when that happens, you know, when you fly under a car like that, or you drive under a flying car, it's something that really you don't really realize it happens until many moments after. You kind of just think, like, did I just drive under somebody in the air? But, you know, definitely a good job of avoiding that on his part.
Yeah, I know last year in the 3-Wide Racing League, we did a Truck Series race at Monza Oval, which was an absolute crazy race. I think I made only one pass on the actual racetrack, and I ended up winning the race because of just all the action that happened. And I went underneath someone who went flying through the air. I couldn't believe it at the time. I went back and watched the replay, and sure enough, I went underneath a flipping car. So it does happen. Sometimes it works out in your favor, like it did there for Brian Lohead, as he's worked his way back to the racetrack. But with only 15 laps to go, Chris Reverge is your race leader from Tanner Sharp in the number 3. AJ Digby sits 3rd. Tim Masters 4th. Billy Wise 5th. Thomas Wise 6th. Kyle Zimmer, Johnny Berardi, Tom Johnson, and Fernando Matos round out your top 10. And for the number 17 of Fernando Matos, he did indeed have fast repairs left, as did Nate Catilla. Both those drivers still out on the racetrack. In fact, looking at it right now, 13 of the 15 starters still out there on the racetrack. Alan Capers, unfortunately, he's got quite a bit of damage. He's continuing to come down pit road to get more of that damage repaired on that number 13 machine. It seems like that's just kind of a battle that he's fighting currently to get as much of it repaired. He'll come down pit road, stop, and then work his way back out onto the racetrack, go another lap or two, then come back down to get that damage repaired, at least once we are under the caution flag like we are right now. So that's definitely tough luck for Alan Capers, but he's going to join the rear of the field here, as I think we will get the one to go this time. We'll have to wait and see if those lights turn off, and they're going to stay on for another lap. So looks like maybe we got the 2 to green this time by.
Yeah, and I want to give a quick update to the 56 of Tom Johnson. I incorrectly said he did not have any fast repairs remaining in the last caution, but he had one left at least because he took it this caution, so probably just saving it. So good move on his part, but his car is fixed up and ready to run out this last 14 or so laps in this race.
Yeah, and that's really when it starts to be go time at Talladega. So definitely he saved that fast repair for the end. I don't blame him for doing so. But Tanner Sharp has a nice clean car up the front, as does Chris Reverge, as does AJ Digby. Most of the field has clean cars. Billy Wise in the number 32, currently sitting in the 5th position. He's actually got some front end damage on that car. Not quite sure if that's going to slow him down or not. You can see him poking out just a little bit there on the right side of your screen. Got that red-nosed number 32 Chevrolet. And that little bit of damage, you know, may or may not affect him. Sometimes iRacing is really picky about the damage you have. Sometimes it doesn't seem to care at all. Just seems to be kind of a luck of the draw. So we'll have to keep an eye on Billy Wise in the number 2, as this race winds down. We go back to green flag racing. Thomas Wise in the number 1. Nice clean car. Kyle Zimmer, much the same. Johnny Berardi might have a few little nicks on the front of that machine, but looks pretty clean. Tom Johnson, we just talked about him. Nate Cotillo, we talked about him. Fernando Matos and Brian Lowhead rounding out the field. It looks like really the only car that has significant damage is Alan Capers. But Capers, you know, he was up to speed under that last caution, just wasn't quite able to hang with the pack. So, you know, seems like we got most of the field here ready to do battle for the checkered flag.
And one interesting note is we were talking about the front end damage on that 32 of Billy Wise, but there is rear end damage on the number 9 of Tim Masters in front of him. So you have to wonder if those two got into each other in the last accident or something. Quite a bit of rear end damage on the number 9. The spoiler pushed up a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see if that does affect. And it really usually doesn't at a track like this. Just a little bit of rear end damage doesn't do too much. Even though you don't want that spoiler in the air any more than it already is, but really in iRacing service it doesn't do that much. But pace car lights are finally off, so we're ready to get back going racing here in just a moment. We're going to double up here, and Christopher Burge and Tanner Sharp, probably the two raciest aggressive drivers on the day, going to be your front two control cars on this restart. Of course, we have seen those two drivers make moves all over the racetrack, and you know, that probably why they are at the front right now.
Absolutely, as we have the 1 to green, it's in the air. In fact, I went back and did a little bit of investigatory work there, Cameron, and you were right. The number 9 and the number 32 did make contact. In fact, it was under the caution flag here just a couple of laps ago. So it'll be interesting to see if that hurts either the 9 or the 32. Hopefully it doesn't hurt either of the two drivers, and they'll be able to race for this checkered flag with no hindrance. But as you see, all these cars now in shade as a big cloud has come over the Talladega Super Speedway. Track temperature currently at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Ambient temperature 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which is down about a degree from the start of this race, as this race is in the afternoon. 2:49 local time at Talladega Super Speedway currently, and with only about 13 laps to go under green flag condition, that's going to wind down pretty fast. It's only about 10 minutes worth of racing if we can get to the end under green flag conditions. Pace car coming down onto pit lane. We'll have a 12-lap shootout here at this 2.66 Super Speedway. Christopher Burge, your race leader. Tanner Sharp in the number 3 to his outside. He's bringing him down fairly quickly, up around 70 miles an hour as they go through the tri-oval. Flagman has the green flag in his right hand, and the green flag is back out at Talladega. Good restart for everyone up the front. In fact, Tanner Sharp got a spectacular restart, so much so that he actually pulled away from Tim Masters by about a full car length as they headed off into turn number 1 and 2. That's not what Tanner Sharp was hoping for. He was hoping for that number 9 to be tucked up right behind this back bumper, because you can see how it's affecting that number 3. That inside line already formed up, and Tanner Sharp kind of sliding his way to the back, at least until Tim Masters can get to his back bumper. He slid back to around the 5th or 6th position here currently. It goes through turns number 3 and 4 for a single file for the first 4 cars. Side-by-side battle there for the 5th position between Tom Johnson and Tanner Sharp. Looks like Tom Johnson is going to take that position for now, but Cameron, Tanner Sharp, that was a rough restart, restarted second, and now he's outside the top 5.
Yeah, he got such a good restart on the outside line, actually keep the 98 to the line, and you know, he got so far ahead of the number 9 behind him that that line just went nowhere really, because they were able to hook up that bottom side. Christopher Burge, AJ Digby, Billy Wise there. You see they were able to really get hooked up really quickly there. There's Tom Johnson in that number 56 machine. Yeah, I think that's the highest up to the front he's been all day, so he's obviously thinking that it is go time, and indeed it is. 11 laps to go here at Talladega, coming to 10 to go. And you got to think, Peter, the aggressiveness, we have seen a lot of it all day today. and it's definitely going to only ramp up as we get closer to the end of this race, especially under 10 laps to go, because in iRacing there are no green, white checkers, so really you have to play. Ooh, trouble!
Oh,
Huge hit!
Contact! AJ dig hard in the outside wall. Nudge. The 25 there of Kyle Zimmer and the number 3 of Tanner Sharp and AJ Digby. All three of those drivers getting a little piece of that. See what happened here on the replay. I think Tanner got into the back bumper of Zimmer and just hooked him right around. And AJ Digby once again, bad luck Digby. I mean, that just seems to be what we say each and every week here on 3Wide TV, and whether it's the SimPossible Mix Series or this, you'll see this out back of Zimmer's number 25 machine. You saw that little nudge, and that sent him sideways, making hard contact with the outside wall.
Yeah, and you know, nothing either driver could do there. Just if you're Kyle Zimmer, you get that little bumper hook, and you just, you know, you're going around regardless if you like it or not. And Digby just absolutely blindsided. I think that's the second or third time this night he's been blindsided by an accident of that type. So he's got to be absolutely frustrated. Like, hopefully he has a fast repair remaining. But definitely that car is well used up. It's smoking and just absolutely looks horrible. So if he does not have a fast repair remaining, his night is pretty much done, I would say. So, you know, like you said, bad luck Digby. You really hate to see that, because you know, it's almost criminal what's happened to him. But you know, either way it did, and not much either driver could have done about that.
Now, the good thing about this race is super speedways. These drivers here at SimPossible Racing, they get 5 fast repairs versus 4, which is what they typically get at intermediates and short tracks, as well as road courses. But on dirt, ovals, and super speedways, they get 5. So hopefully these drivers have at least 1 in their spare pocket. We'll find out if Digby has one, as he's pulling into his pit box right now. And indeed, he did have a fast repair left. In fact, he just came down, got that fast repair done, and he's rolling off pit road already. So AJ Digby's going to be back into the fight here with under 10 laps to go. Billy Wise currently sits second in the number 32. Looks like that front end damage is not affecting him all too much, as he was able to close into behind Chris Reversion, the number 98. And Tanner Sharp's going to have to restart here on the inside this time. We saw him get a huge jump on the outside line under that last restart. But he's going to have to start third on this one, at least for now. You see AJ Dig coming up just a little bit here on the inside line. Not quite sure if he's trying to, you know, express some frustration in, you know, seemingly being involved in nothing of his own doing multiple times here tonight. But Digby there on your right side of the number 14 definitely has shown that he's had the pace to be up at the front. Just seems like he's been at the wrong place at the wrong time a couple times. But once again, looks like the whole field beyond Alan Capers have at least used a fast repair or have no damage, which is good to see.
And as far as AJ Digby goes, I know exactly how he's feeling, because I had about half of my season last year. It kind of started off really bad, where you just get involved in everything, and none of it's your own doing, and you really just lose confidence as a driver. You kind of just start thinking, am I doing something wrong? And if I've just lost it? But obviously Digby is a very good driver, and just been getting involved in everything that could possibly happen. So we saw it in the truck series as well, but he was able to make the Final Four and was actually in contention for the title up until the very last corner of the race. So obviously we know he can get it done, just needs to get some luck on his side.
There are a couple of other drivers receiving some damage in that accident. Those were Johnny Berardi, Nate Catilla, and Tom Johnson. They each got a small piece of it. Looks like Tom Johnson came down pit road, got some of that damage repaired. Nate Catilla as well. But I'm interested to see Yeah, Johnny Berardi didn't come down pit road at all, I don't think. So he's got a little bit of right front damage from this caution. It looks like he's just going to stay out there and hope it all holds together here for the final few laps. Thomas Wise and Fernando Matos currently exiting pit road in the number 1 and the number 17 respectively. Looks like Matos will restart in the 13th position once we go back to green. In fact, Matos came down and got 4 fresh tires. Wondering if that was just him being, basically at the back of the pack anyway. Might as well come down and get 4 fresh tires. And tires don't mean all too much, but in the event that you might need them, why not use them,
Yeah, absolutely. And, really, we talk that tires don't mean anything here at Talladega, but, that's not entirely true because if you do have those fresh tires versus having, say, 20 laps on the tires, you really can definitely feel it a little bit. You can make moves a little bit easier on those fresh tires versus the older ones, but, it's not going to... It's not going to be at a track like Darlington where if you have 20 laps on your tires versus fresh tires, you're going to be, 3 seconds off the pace. So, it's not affecting really the speed so much as just a little bit of the handling.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, we continue to pace here under the yellow flag. This time by we'll have 7 laps to go. I'm thinking this will probably be about a 5-lap shootout once we go back to green flag racing. Chris Roberge, currently your race leader. Roberge trying to do the double here in the first 2 Super Speedway races of this season. Of course, getting the win to start the year back at Daytona in that number 98 Toyota Camry. And we touched on this earlier tonight, but he is racing without his teammate and points leader Dave Wilson. Talladega being a track where usually you work best with your teammates, but when you don't have a teammate in the race, sometimes it can make life a little bit difficult. But Chris Roberge has kind of proven that incorrect here so far, as that number 98 has led quite a few laps tonight.
Yeah,
definitely an impressive run.
Absolutely, really starting or coming where he left off in Daytona and winning that race has really shown that he wants to win this one as well. Of course, every driver wants to win every race, but Chris Roberge especially been very aggressive with the moves he'd make. As we've seen, or as we've talked about all night, just really coming out here, and it's almost a statement. You can really tell the level of aggressiveness in that 98 car and that 3 behind him. So those 2, you got to think, are going to be hooked up right off the bat on the restart, and they're going to be trying to do something.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who in this field is going to make that charge to get the win here tonight, because we've seen it a couple times. You can go from the back to the front quite quickly, especially if they start jumbling themselves up at the front. Keep an eye on Johnny Berardi. He's going to be restarting in the 4th position in that number 99 machine. Got a little bit of right side damage in that last accident. This is pretty much the highest we've seen Berardi all night. Maybe Berardi can find a way to victory lane here as pace car lights are off, getting set to go green with 6 laps to go.
Yeah, and really any of these drivers on the racetrack, of course, they all have fairly fresh cars. Save for Alan Capers in that 13, he's a little bit banged up, or a lot of it banged up actually, but still on the track, so it's good to see that. But really, anyone on this track right now, even Alan Capers, if something big happens, has a chance at this win. So, definitely stay tuned for the end of this race. It's going to be something absolutely insane, I have to think, and that pace car is definitely agreeing to me. He's saying he's getting the heck out of the way. He wants to let this race go green, and this potentially could be the last green flag of the race we see, depending on if we get a caution with a few laps in or not. But either way, Chris Roberge is the control car, and Billy Wise too is outside. They're going to be controlling this restart. Flagman has the flag in his right hand once again, and we're going to be getting set to get going green here in just a moment. Green flag is out here, so as I said right there, you see that 3 in the 98 get hooked up right off the bat. I knew exactly that was going to happen. Billy Wise kind of all by himself. AJ Digby is several car lengths behind, so that inside line is going to... Ooh, trouble! And number 9 is around. Number 13 around. Number 25 looks like he's involved in it. Nate Catilla involved. I'm not sure what happened there, but it started with that number 9 getting hooked by something. We'll have to see what happened on the replay. But It's like you see right there, he got hooked at number 99, having some issues there, and just nothing he could have done there. And unfortunately, a couple of other cars involved as well. There's Kyle Zimmer, who really must hate restrict late racing at this point, because coming from Daytona where he took that wild ride, just has kind of had himself a bad luck day. You see, just nothing he could do there. Just got blindsided. There's Alan Capers, who has a lot of damage himself. Probably wonders what he did wrong in a past life to have the race he's had. Nate Cattell, unfortunately, involved as well. But we are working 5 laps to go now. I don't know if we'll get another restart or not, but we'll have to see if we do. But if we don't, either way, if we do or we don't, that driver right there, that 98 of Chris Burge, is sitting pretty. And like we were saying, coming off of that win at Daytona, coming out here tonight and trying to do it once again.
Yeah, I mean, race at the right time here on the super speedway is typically being out front, especially when you get a caution like that with just a few laps to go. And I'm hoping we can get a 2-lap shootout here in. Definitely be exciting to see, because we've seen some amazing restarts here tonight. It'll be interesting to see if any of these drivers decide to come down onto pit road and use a faster pair. I'm sure if you're in the back of the pack and you still have a faster pair, you might as well come down, and use that faster pair just in case we do get a 2-lap shootout here. But only time will tell whether or not that does indeed happen, as pace car lights will stay on at least for another lap or two. Chris Roberge, your race leader, and you said it, being out front is the safest place to be, and I think that's definitely played into the hands of Roberge here, at least over the last 15 laps or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had the advantage of having Tanner Sharp behind him on that restart as well, and Tanner is a very aggressive pusher, aggressive restarter himself, so he had that kind of advantage of being able to get that big push that really helped him not really avoid the wreck. He was well ahead of it, but just stay out in front, stay in that lead. And 4 laps to go. I believe if we do get a restart, it will be a 1-lap shootout. To see about that, but those are always something to watch at a restrictor plate track. But definitely, we can't be in a better spot than Chris is right now.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I'm, with that number 3 of Tanner Sharp there to outside of me, we've seen Tanner Sharp get some fantastic restarts here tonight, and I'm sure Tanner's wanting it to go back to green flag racing, because he will, of course, want to win this race. But Alan Capers going down, grabbing that cone. For your Alan Capers fans here watching, he now runs in the 8th position after this most recent caution flag. So even though he's got a pretty beaten up number 13 machine, 8th place is the highest he's been for a while. So definitely, not the night Alan was hoping for, but definitely him sticking it out has allowed him to get up in the top 10. In fact, I'm sure Alan Capers is hoping we don't go back to green, because there's a couple cars around him that probably would be able to pass him, just because that number 13's been down on power for quite some time with all that damage. So I'm sure he'd, probably take an 8th place finish. Not the best night, but better than where he has been with the current pace of that machine. But we'll find out this time by whether or not we get a 2-lap shootout. I would love a 2-lap shootout. That gives us enough time to really shuffle up the field. We'll find out this time when the pace car crosses the start-finish line here in just about half a mile.
Yeah, I have to imagine that won't, because we do have some lapped cars on the racetrack right now. Thomas Wise is 1 lap down, so that usually adds a lap to the restart, and I'm not sure if iRacing counts the 2 that are out of the race as lap cars, but those pace car lights are off still, so if we do get going back green, it will be a 1-lap shootout, I believe, correct? So You know, that's those are always a bit of a crapshoot.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we're going to have to keep an eye on that because I'll have to see if I can dig up the SimPossible rule book quickly, but I don't remember whether or not they actually do one-lap shootouts. Some leagues do them, others do not. So that will be something that we'll have to keep an eye on here. I don't think I can pull up the rule book currently at the moment. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. In fact, let's see if we can ask league organizer Jeff Schmidt. He'll know the answer, and here he is. Jeff, if we get the base car lights go off here, are we going to get a one-lap shootout?
Yeah, we're getting a one-lap shootout here.
Oh, there you go. You heard it from the man himself.
Yep.
Jeff Schmidt.
Lap 72, they got 2 to green, so it should be a one-lap shootout.
Alrighty, well definitely once the green flag comes back into the air, the next flag will end it, and of course there is no yellow or no caution flags on the last lap, so assuming we get to the line, they will be racing back to the stripe, and definitely going to set us up for a good finish.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to see this.
Alright, well that's league organizer Jeff Schmidt, and Cameron, we're going to get one lap here.
Yeah, basically from the man himself. So you know, good that we will get some racing in, and you know, there is a lot of opportunity for this field to be shuffled completely. Maybe accident or some, you know, just the way the runs work. But it's definitely going to be something to watch here. This last 2.66 miles of this race is going to be really interesting, and it's all going to be led by that. It's going to be started off by that number 98 of Chris Burge. We've seen Tanner Sharp able to get really, really good restarts on that high side. Really, all race just been on the money with those points he's been getting on the gas. So see if he can do something on the restart. It might depend on who has the better push. If Billy Wise is able to push that number 98, or if Brian Lowhead there in fourth. You know, he's been kind of a quiet one all night, but definitely up in the position to do something at the front here in this last lap of the race. So, you know, definitely going to be interesting to see what happens here in this last lap of the race.
Oh yeah, definitely, without a doubt. It's going to be a really exciting finish. I don't rule out Brian Lowhead. I mean, Lowhead has been up and down. We've seen him narrowly avoid some accidents, but he's currently now in the 4th position in that number 66 Mountain Dew machine, right behind the number 3 of Tanner Sharp and another Mountain Dew machine. So we got the Mountain Dew duo up there on the top. Johnny Berardi currently sitting in the 6th position behind them, and Alan Capers in 8th. In fact, let's reset the whole field for you currently here as we are about to get this one-lap shootout. Chris Roberge, number 98, is your race leader. I think Roberge has led the most laps so far tonight. Tanner Sharp, pole sitter, currently sitting in 2nd. 3rd place is the 32 of Billy Wise. Great run for him. Brian Lowhead sits in 4th. He started from the 13th position, now running in 4th. Digby is in the 5th position. To his outside is the 99 of Johnny Berardi. Fernando Matos, he's been in the wars tonight, but currently sits in the 7th position. Behind them, Nate Catilla, Kyle Zimmer, Tom Johnson, Tim Masters, and Thomas Wise. In fact, Thomas Wise is the number 1. He's actually 1 lap down. The top 12 cars are on the lead lap and are fighting to get the win here at Talladega Super Speedway. It'll be interesting, Cameron, to see how high Kyle Zimmer can climb in this one-lap shootout.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely have seen that drivers have been able to make huge runs from really back in the 10th spot and do something with them. But it's going to be one heck of a show. This last 2.66 miles of this race. Pace car is off. The field is in the hands of that 98 Chris Berge. He's trying to go for his 2nd win of the season and 2nd restrictor plate win of the year. Definitely in the good spot to start it off. Pace car, or the black man has thrown that green flag out. We are racing here for one more final time. Look at Digby in the middle. He's making a good run up through the front. Ooh, Brian Lowhead chopping down on him a little bit, but Digby able to get some space in front of Billy Wise. We have a trouble in the back. Nate Catilla is in the wall, as well as someone else. I did not see who that was, but
Kyle Zimmer.
yeah, Kyle Zimmer really we've talked about his bad luck on the night, just probably not enjoying super speedway racing here. But there's AJ Digby, the loyal pusher of the night, right behind that number 90 of Christopher. We'll see if he does not do that anymore. I have to think that he's probably thinking about making his move right now. He's got Tanner Sharp behind him. He knows that Tanner is an aggressive pusher. Look at Tanner laying back a little bit on through turn 3 and 4, seeing if he's going to try to make a move. Here comes AJ Digby on the outside of Christopher. Who is Tanner going to go with? He goes low by himself on that yellow line. Let's see what happens. Trouble. Chris Burge gets turned a little bit. That's going to give the win to AJ Digby. Digby able to
turn after the line.
Digby able to capture that win, and what a finish there. It was 3 wide. Some contact there between, I believe, Tanner and that was Christopher Burge, and that was able to give AJ Digby just enough of a run to capture that win. Chris Burge coming home in second. Tanner Sharp got kind of knocked through the grass coming home in the 6th position, but what a finish there. AJ Digby, we talked about him being the perennial bad luck driver, but tonight he is the winner at Talladega, and you see that car is definitely not one you would expect to win here. It is damaged quite a bit, but really, I don't think he cares anymore, because he finally, might have got that monkey off his back that he's had all season, and he's going to burn it down right where he is. He's in turn 1, I believe. So he doesn't care. He's just going to do burnouts. Probably, doesn't really care about anything at this point. Just finally getting that win, finally getting some luck on his side.
Yeah, I mean, that contact between Roberge and Tanner Sharp, I mean, man, they both did a fantastic job to save their cars and keep them going straight. There was that contact there at the line between Billy Wise and Chris Roberge. Fernando Matos also getting a little bit of a nudge there at the start-finish line, but it was Digby, Roberge, and Wise at the line. Fernando Matos 4th, and Brian Lohead finished in 5th position. Well, while AJ Digby burns them down, we're going to try and see if we can get the top 3 finishers for you in just a minute after a few quick commercials. Well, not quite sure if we have them lined up or not, so we'll just continue to let AJ Digby burn it down. Christopher Burge there on the racetrack as well, as they have finally moved off the racetrack here. Let's see if we can dial up your 3rd place finisher here. That would be Billy Wise. And there he is, Billy Wise. Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, that was an exciting night. It seemed like every car at some point was involved in some accident, but you were able to get your number 32 machine up into the 3rd position there with that 1-lap shootout. Talk us through your race a little bit.
Oh, man. I don't know. I'm still trying to take it all back. But we were like in the front, then we were in the back, and then we were in the middle, and we were just playing the restrictor plate game, and came out 3rd. It's awesome. Love it.
Talk us about the strategy tonight, using when to use fast repairs and when not to use fast repairs, because it seemed like a couple people might have gone through them a little bit early, but you definitely had some fast repairs there to keep your number 32 looking clean there towards the end.
Well, I don't know. I was out of fast repairs, and I thought I was pretty beat up, and I didn't think I was going to be competitive. But Jeff came over the radio and said, "Hey, no, you look pretty good. You're not that bad." And so I just went for it, even though I thought my front end was wrinkled up.
Yeah, your front end was definitely a little bit wrinkled up, but definitely you showed some pace there right at the end. On that last lap, that 1-lap shootout, what was going through your head when that green flag threw? And it seemed like you were behind the number 3 of Tanner Sharp. What was going through your mind when Tanner started to make his moves?
I was just trying to get to the front without being disrespectful and just being clean. I didn't want to wreck the field making a move for the lead. So I was kind of in line, but yet I was going for it. So I was trying to go for it and yet be respectful to my teammates, league mates.
Well, that's definitely very kind and courteous of you here. That's definitely, I think, what most sim racers would say, and that's good to hear out of your mouth. But Talladega is a pretty exciting place. Do you like the restrictor plate racing?
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Tonight I was going for 3 in a row in the SimPossible League with 3 different cars. So we didn't quite make it. We got 3rd, and we'll take it. And I think we're starting to get a little reputation that we can run these plate tracks.
Absolutely. Well, next week we go to the Dover International Speedway. Dover is a very different track. It's a very tricky track. 1 mile, still very fast, fairly high banked. Do you like Dover?
Hell yeah. Dover, short, high banked. We're going to get it done there too.
All right. Well, before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
Definitely got to give a shout out to simability.com. They make sim racing adaptive controls. So if you know someone that might have a disability that maybe can't use their legs, or maybe their hands are impaired or something, these guys can hook you up and get you racing on the track no matter what disability you have. So yeah, simability.com. And Magical Butter, herbal infusions and extractions, always got to give out a shout out to them, man. They're a great company. They're a really cool team. They're here local here in Port Richey, Florida, and just great company. They do so much for local things going on. And on the hood tonight we got ASF, Action Sports Foundation. They're out of Brandon, Florida, but the last thing I went to was in St. Pete. It was WCMX, and it's kind of like skateboarding and BMXing, but in a wheelchair. So they hosted that event, and it was really cool. It was badass. So a huge shout out to Action Sports Foundation.
Absolutely. Well, Billy, we thank you for stopping by here tonight. Congratulations on your 3rd place finish, and we hope to see you next week at Dover International Speedway.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that was your 3rd place finisher, Billy Wise. Let's see who we can dial up, see if we can get the 2nd place finisher, Chris Roberge. Cameron?
All right, I caught up with them, Chris. Probably not the ending to the race you wanted, but kind of just take us through the race in your own eyes. You were able to lead the most laps, and really kind of showed after your win at Daytona that you are a pretty good restrictor plate driver. So just kind of take us through the race, how you played it.
Well, for a while, just take it easy. Well, I know I led the first lap on Tanner, but I had a good pusher from AJ. He helped me out a bit. Billy helped me out a bit. Tanner helped me a little bit too almost at the end. Billy did the most with me, and Kyle tried his best with me too, and a little bit with Travis. But everybody all help out each other, and we just take our time.
Yeah, I have to ask you. If you could replay that last lap again, and do anything different, would you have?
Well, I would block AJ, but I'm not that kind of person. If he had a good run, I won't cause more wreck or anything like that. So I just play as is and see what I hope to God.
Yeah, and one thing we kind of mentioned in the pre-race, your teammate Dave Wilson out of the series for a little bit of time for a few races. Did that kind of cross your mind at the beginning, knowing how restrictor plate racing is, how teammates really kind of help you?
It's kind of sad that he's gone, but for a while. But I just gotta keep on racing as whoever I can.
All right, man. Well, we do go to Dover next week. A bit of a different racetrack than Talladega. Personally, one of my favorites. I do love the place a lot, but how are you looking forward to that place?
Just say again.
I said we go to Dover next week. Quite a bit different racetrack than Talladega. One of my favorite racetracks personally, but how are you looking forward to that event?
Actually, I just raced that race on Monday. I raced on with Go Fast League, and I was on Dover. I came in, I think, 6th place. But that track is really hard and slick on turn 4.
Absolutely, Chris. Well, before we let you go, we know you have some shout-outs for us, so let's hear them.
Yes, I want to shout out for my wife for watching me and everything else.
Hold on,
thanks-
Cameron. Hold on, Cameron.
What?
Cameron and your wife. That's been a hot topic before.
Oh, yeah, I know. Don't worry.
Just had to jump in there.
Okay, well, say thanks for my wife for supporting me here on my racing. Thanks for Justin getting this organized for us. Thanks for you guys, the 3YTV, and everybody else. And this is for my teammate, so I hope he watched and everything else. So take care, you guys.
Alrighty then, Chris. Well, congrats on finishing second. You ran a very good race today, showing that you definitely know these restrictor plate races very well. But go celebrate, and hope to talk to you again next week, bud.
Oh yeah, well thank you, and thanks to you guys. Thanks, Peter.
Alright, well that was your second place finisher, Chris Auberge, and I do believe that Peter Short has caught up with your winner tonight.
That I have, and for 74 laps, AJ Digby looked like AJ Digby had the AJ Digby monkey on his back. However, the last lap was a completely different race for your AJ. I mean, it looked like every wreck that you got involved in, it looked like you were just snagged in the right rear corner. But you were able to get to the front right there at the end. Talk us through your race from your perspective.
Oh man, so first off, I knew that Talladega is always interesting. Anything can happen at any given point. Early on in the race, I knew I had a really good car. Obviously, I knew that I was able to keep myself up in the front, and I knew I belonged up there, and just kept getting hit into by other people, or something happened where I was in every single caution, it felt like. And mid-race, me and my spotter, my cousin Kevin Vollmer, made a strategy call to take a normal repair, try to take the required and optionals, whatever was needed, and save a fast repair. And so that helped a little bit there to get a fresh car with about 15 to go. And then from there, it was a little bit of luck, a little bit of good spotting, and a little bit of good driving. And luckily, I was able to get all 3 there at the end and come away with the W.
Yeah, going into that last, 1-lap shootout there right at the very end, what was your strategy? Because you were a little bit, you were a little bit boxed in right there on the restart, but you finally were able to make that move. What was that strategy?
Well, I knew that Billy had a little bit of damage, so I knew that if I had any shot at the lead, I needed to try to get around him. And then I knew that Brian probably wasn't going to get a great push on Tanner, but Tanner and Chris were going to be able to get out and get a good start. So I was hoping that there would be some sort of lane, because otherwise I would be boxed down on the bottom. And luckily, when Tanner and Brian hit the gas, they kind of slid out a little bit, and so that it was kind of like Moses, and the sea was open in the middle. So I had a little bit of a run, and so I took it as soon as I could, and almost got squeezed down and ended our race right there. Just was enough room to clear Billy and then come down to the bottom while I was getting squeezed down from the top. And then I was just trying to push Chris as long as I could until I had to make a move. I didn't want to pop too early because then I would create a huge wake of the draft behind me, and people would be slingshotting all day. So I tried to push Chris as long as I could until we got to about the tri-oval area. And then also just protecting the bottom so Tanner couldn't get under me, while also maybe breathing the throttle a little bit to get a little bit of a gap on Chris to try to get a slingshot. And when I first popped out, Chris blocked me a little bit, so I had to go a little bit wider than I wanted and kind of lost a little bit of the momentum. And as soon as I hit the beginning of the tri-oval, I was like, I don't have enough speed to get this done. And then next thing I know, I saw Chris start to wobble a little bit and wondered if he got hit by Tanner. And I tried to stay as high as I could so I didn't get caught up in anything too much. And luckily, I was able to push through to the end. And none of it would have been possible without my spotter, Kevin Vollmer, calling me through those, and as well as the incidents that I was at the back of the pack and could dodge, calling me through all of that. Huge kudos to him, and then obviously just a little bit of luck and a little bit of good driving all put together, and come away with a win finally.
Absolutely. I know you'll be glad to get the monkey off your back finally. But we do have Dover International Speedway coming up next week. What are your thoughts about that track? Because it's completely different to tonight's race.
I've always loved Dover. I've always loved tracks that are brake-heavy tracks, throttle modulation, things like that. And I did pretty well at the race at Dover last time in the trucks, I believe. I did pretty well there, and I believe it was like a top 5, but I had a little bit of damage and couldn't push through to the end as much as I wanted. But sometimes just got to get a little bit of luck, and hopefully it can carry over into Dover. But at the very least, I helped out a lot with points, and hopefully we can continue keeping in the right direction. And it wasn't a good race the whole race, but it only takes one lap to win the thing, and that lap went my way.
Without a doubt. Well, AJ, before we let you go, you got some shout-outs for us?
Yeah, as I said, my cousin Kevin Vollmer, my spotter, my crew chief, that man, I have to thank him so much. The rest of my Zulu Motorsport guys for their support. And then I don't know if I have family or anybody watching, but I know that my dad will text me at some point because he'll watch it eventually. And so thanks to all those guys. Jeff for putting on this league, everybody in it for the great racing. You guys for the broadcast that I will no doubt save and watch later and watch again later after that. And after that. But yeah, that's... wow.
Yeah, without a doubt. Great to see AJ Digby back in victory lane here in the SimPossible Racing League. And AJ, best of luck next week at Dover International Speedway. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you then.
Thank you very much. And lastly, my some Zulu Motorsports car, Kevin Vollmer, also painted that. So he holds a lot of tools in our garage. But huge thanks to all that.
Alrighty, well that was your race winner, AJ Digby. And I think Cameron Rich is caught up with league organizer Jeff Schmidt.
Indeed I have. The dude, the man himself. Jeff Schmidt, you got a copy.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Oh, it's pretty good. We talked to you right before the end of this race. You said it was going to be a wild finish, and, well, we knew it was going to be a wild finish, and it definitely was. What a race that was.
Yeah, it was crazy. A little bit longer than it probably should have been. We talked about it as well, and a couple of the guys were hurting a little bit after, so we'll make sure to adjust that for the future. Of course, the cautions make it a little longer here with the pacing around here. It takes a little bit, so yeah, when we come back here to Talladega, then we'll make sure to shorten the race up a bit. But yeah, man, there was some awesome racing out there, some awesome 3-wide racing. I know the guys were pushing hard, and you know, things happen here quickly, so it's not really anyone's fault that there were as many cautions as there were. It happens. It's Talladega.
Yeah, and especially with these B cars at plate tracks, really the aero package is kind of booty. You know, it just kind of it really means you gotta be so concise on where you push. You really don't have a big window to push, and especially, you know, when you get to the corners, you have to, you know, you can just so easy to turn the car in front of you around. We even saw it on the front or the back stretch, I think once or twice. Just such a tough aero package to work with.
Yeah, and you know, everyone always says that anyone can drive a plate track, that it's the easiest thing in the world. But when you're racing 3 wide, it's not. And especially with these B cars, they are squirrely, man. Even if you got to get out of the throttle because you're getting close to someone, they can move the car around. So it's not the easiest thing. I think the guys did an amazing job tonight, regardless, and we'll move on. I thought it was a really fun race to watch. You have no idea who's going to win these things. I know that much.
Yeah, absolutely. And we go to Dover next week. I love Dover. I love driving the track. I love watching the track. So definitely one of those events that I'm going to enjoy. Of course, I always enjoy every race, but Dover just kind of I don't know. It's like a big Bristol. So that's always a pretty cool event to watch from my perspective.
Yeah, Dover's fun. It's a completely different race from what we had tonight here. I'm looking forward to it, absolutely. It's really easy to get in the outside wall there at Dover, so hopefully the guys can find a good line and not slide up the track too much, because it is a difficult track. These guys do amazing, though. And again, tonight that was a product of plate racing. A lot of our other races have been much cleaner. We've actually had a caution-free race not too long ago, so that definitely proves that the guys are up to the task. Dover, I expect to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. The actual the last SimPossible race, the series race at Vegas, was caution-free, so that was pretty cool to see. But we know you got a lot of people that help make this league go round and round and run the way it does. So let's hear those names of people and everybody that helps you.
Absolutely. You, Cameron, her, and Carlos at 3 wide, and everyone else at 3 wide that's helped us in the past. Thank you a ton. You guys are amazing. Again, apologize for the length of the race tonight. It was a little longer than expected, but we'll make sure to adjust that for the future for future reference. You guys do awesome. So I hope all the viewers are already subscribed and give it a like. It's really an awesome thing that you guys do for us, and we're very happy to have you on board. You got to thank the drivers, their friends and family, and of course the viewers of the races and the fans out there. We appreciate it, and we see you out there. It's awesome. The families of the drivers, especially for what they do for these guys to make it possible for them to be able to race out here. A lot of guys need a lot of help with a lot of things that might not be the easiest things to deal with, that the families have to deal with to help them out, and we surely appreciate everyone's efforts here. So, 3dwrap.it. Got to thank Benny Amano, an Italian company. He sent us some hand controls out that one of the drivers used, and yeah, very cool. I'm so happy that it helps the driver out, and very cool that they sent that out to us. Other than that, as far as sponsors, we're looking for a sponsor for our Monday series and our Wednesday series here tonight. So hopefully someone can jump on board and help us out, because we have a lot of awesome ideas, a lot of things that we want to do to help the drivers out. And, without the funding, we're not necessarily able to do that yet. We're going to keep racing and doing what we do regardless. But if we had a decent sponsor to come and help us out, then there's a lot of things that we could do that we're not able to right now. So hopefully someone hears this out there and wants to join in on this, because it's an awesome thing. We really help a lot of guys out. One of the guys mentioned tonight, even in the team speak, that it was a sense of therapy for them to even just talk with everyone, regardless of the racing. Just to meet every Monday and Wednesday and talk to each other. It's really awesome. So, yep, blessed to be able to do it, and thank you everyone that helps out with that.
Absolutely, Jeff, and all those people, an integral part of the league, and it's always good to hear that everything is going smoothly. Of course, we here at 3Wide TV also, we're privileged to be a part of it ourselves, but we'll get you some results on the screen real quick and get this broadcast wrapped up so you all can go to bed, we all can go to bed, and get this thing underway. AJ Digby coming home with the win tonight, finally getting that AJ Digby monkey off his back. Christopher Burge led the most laps tonight, finishing second. Billy Wise coming home third. Fernando Matos, didn't see him come across the line, but he did come across in fourth. Brian Lowhead in fifth. Tanner Sharp coming home in sixth after that last lap incident. Tom Johnson able to come home in seventh. Johnny Berardi in eighth. Tim Masters, the 9 car, coming home in ninth. And Alan Capers coming home in 10th, Peter.
Yeah, the 11th place finisher was Nate Tilla. Of course, he was running a memorial car for a friend that he recently, who recently passed away. Unfortunately, he finished in the 11th position, but definitely, I'm sure you'll have a good finish next week. Kyle Zimmer finishing in the 12th position. Thomas Wise 13th, one lap down. Travis Zudema and Doug McCollum both DNF'd here tonight. Well, Cameron, Talladega was basically everything that it's cracked up to be. We had a big one, a couple of big ones, and action, and a last lap pass for the win. What a race.
Absolutely, yeah. Talladega, you never know what you're going to get. It's like that movie, Life is Like a Box of Chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. That's what Talladega is. I don't know what that movie is actually called. I know what the I know what the movie is called, I just can't think of it right now. But either way, you're right, Peter. Of course, SimPossible puts on a great show each and every week, and it's you never know what you're going to get either way. You go to any track and anything can happen, and we have certainly seen it. But that's all we got for you guys tonight from the Talladega Super Speedway. I'm Cameron Rich, and welcoming Peter Short back to the United States of America from his trip, and Carlos Acosta in that booth manning those cameras as always. We hope you have a good night. If you like what you see, like, subscribe. 3Bot TV has a lot more of that, what you saw. Want to give a quick shout out to all the chatters and all the viewers and everybody that just keeps us doing what we're doing, and SimTV for providing those cameras that allow us to show you guys what you see each and every week. But that's all we got for you tonight. Hope you guys have an awesome night, and stay awesome, everyone.